Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session this afternoon on an introduction to Canvas or a Canvas overview. This is a basic introduction to Canvas that tries not to assume any prior knowledge of Canvas or any other learning management system for that matter. I've seen a number of you before in these sessions, and you're more than welcome. But realize, of course, that we will go back to square one and talk about Canvas. I have muted everyone, getting a little background noise, but remember you can unmute yourself and ask a question at any time. I'm Dave Giberson, by the way. I recognize the vast majority of you, but just in case, I'm an old, in more ways than one, instructional design coordinator, retired from online learning pathways at the San Diego district. And they've brought me back and to help out in this unprecedented time we find ourselves in. And I am very happy to be here, and happy to see you all this afternoon to talk about Canvas. And we've already talked about the chat roster, so don't need to do that. So let's start talking about Canvas. First thing we need to know about Canvas, of course, is how to find it and how to get into it. To show you things like that, I'm going to need to share my screen. I'll be doing that most of the afternoon. Zoom's superpower, as it were, the thing that transforms Zoom from a video chat tool to a virtual classroom, is its considerable ability to share your computer screen with your students. Anything that I see on my computer screen, I can be confident you can see as well. If you have trouble, if some of the print is a little small, or if you have trouble seeing something, there is you are now seeing a little button at the top of your screen labeled View Options. And within that menu, if you click on that, you'll get a menu. And within that menu, there are options for viewing the shared screen. A good one is Fit to Window, so that you're sure that you can see everything that I'm talking about. But you can also zoom in. If you're having trouble seeing something, you can enlarge stuff, and then move the enlarged area around a little bit to see the rest of the screen, just by clicking and dragging with your mouse or your finger on a mobile device. On a mobile device, you can zoom in and get things larger by just pinch zooming, just putting your thumb and your forefinger on the screen and spreading them apart. It will zoom you in, and you'll be able to see better. But at any time, if you're having trouble seeing or hearing anything that I'm doing, please let me know immediately, and I'll do everything I can to rectify that. There may not be anything I can do, but I'll try. So I definitely want you to be able to see what we're talking about and hear me speak. So this, of course, is the Zoom or the Canvas. I know what I'm talking about, the Canvas dashboard. But let's go one step out and see what it looks like when we first access Canvas. I'll go to my account button here and log out, which is how you log out of Canvas. And here's the Canvas login screen at the San Diego Community College District. This system covers all 3 colleges and continuing education. So all of you will go to this same screen to log in. And the web address, the URL for Canvas, is sdccd.instructure.com, Instructure being the company that writes Canvas. Let me put that in the chat tool. All right, that's in the chat tool. Remember, you can save that on a computer. But obviously, you need to be able to find Canvas to use it. It's also linked to the district homepage and to the college and continuing ed homepages as well, but it can be difficult to find. Who knew that we'd all be using Canvas before long? So up until about 4 weeks ago, about 50% of the faculty at the district use Canvas. Now almost everyone has to. So it's quite important that you be able to find it. And that's where it'll be found. You can just type sdccd.instructure.com in the address line of any web browser. I'm using Chrome. Chrome works well for it, but any web browser should work. Edge, Safari, Firefox all work fine with Canvas. And if you just type that address in and press enter, you should go right to the home page. Then you can bookmark it, and that's probably the easiest way to get there. When you get to the home page, you'll, of course, need to log in. This is a password-protected resource. Only employees and students of the district can get in. And your username will be your 10-digit PeopleSoft user ID, which you have to use all the time for various things. And the same for the students, be their 10-digit student ID. The Canvas password initially is set to your 8-digit birth date, month, day, year. And you see information about that down at the bottom of the login screen here. So it gives login information for both faculty and students. For instance, on the birth date, if you're, and let me pull up a text screen here that I can share with you. If your birthday were, say, June 1st, 1998, I wish, your password is month, day, year, which in this case would be 06 for June. If it's a single digit month, you have to put a 0 in front. Same with the day, 01, June 1st, and then the 4-digit year. So that your password would be 06/01/1998 in that event, your initial password. And no punctuation, no dots, no slashes or anything like that, just the numbers. If you are a current or a faculty member with a current teaching assignment, either contract or TAO, or a currently matriculated student, a student currently registered in a course for spring term 2020, you will have an account on Canvas that's automatically created. If you haven't taught in a while or taken a class in a while, you may not have an account or an active account. Your account may have become inactive, and we can help you with that. Just check, you can check with me, or you can call Canvas support, and we'll see how to do that in a moment, and they can help you with that. So I'm going to go ahead and log in then to Canvas. All you do is enter my user ID and password are different than yours. I was like the second person put into the system, these many years ago. So mine's a little different. So but once you enter your user ID and your password, you just click the login button or press enter, and in you will go. And the first thing you see is your so-called Canvas dashboard. This is where this is basically a course list, a list of courses in which you're enrolled, either as an instructor or a student or a TA or whatever, in any of the various roles that Canvas supports. Probably either teacher or student. The tiles on the dashboard, these colored rectangles, each represent a course. And course name is listed underneath it. And all you have to do to access a course is to click on the tile corresponding to that course. You also have a courses list over here. This menu on the left-hand side, the so-called global navigation menu or system menu for Canvas, always appears on any Canvas screen once you're logged in. And you can get to these tools at any time. But the courses list is just a list of your courses, text-based list of your courses, showing courses that you have published and those that you have not. The word publish in Canvas refers to making it available to students. If a course is published, students can see it. If an item within a course is published, students can see it. Anything not published is not visible to students, and it's generally very easy to tell whether a course or some item within the course is published or not, and we'll see how that works. So it's usually pretty obvious whether students can see something or not. You can also, if you have too many courses to fit in that list, as I do, there's also an all courses list that's a little bit different, and that gives you access to all of the courses you might have been enrolled in now or in the past or in the future, and so on. So the dashboard and the courses tool between them will give you access to your courses. Your current courses, your active courses, should be on your dashboard. But that's where to look if you don't see them for any reason. Course shells, we call them in Canvas, containers into which you put data and links to assessments and things like that. Course shells in Canvas are automatically created for you. If you have a teaching assignment and are identified in PeopleSoft as the instructor of record for a class, a tile for a shell for that class will appear on your dashboard automatically. This usually happens about a week or so before the beginning of the term for a variety of nasty administrative reasons having to do with mainly having to do with protecting Canvas from PeopleSoft. But we have to connect Canvas with PeopleSoft in order to have these courses built automatically, the course shells built automatically, and your students automatically enrolled within the courses on Canvas, the course shells, so that the size of the district, we could never do that sort of thing manually. So it has to be automated. But there are reasons you don't want PeopleSoft messing with your Canvas stuff until about a week before the beginning of the term, which can save you a lot of time and hassle. So we don't give you those shells until relatively the last minute. Does that mean you have to wait until the last minute to build your course shells, to develop your course shells in Canvas? Absolutely not. You can request what are called development shells for each of the courses that you teach. These are shells that will never have students in them, where you can build your course, you can put in your content, you can put in your assessments, you can set all your dates and get everything ready to go. And then at the last minute, relatively speaking, the week before the beginning of the term, you can copy all of that into the actual live shells that will have your students enrolled in them, and that you will actually teach in. You can copy the content from the development shell into as many of the live shells as you need to, and you can then proceed to teach. Nominally, your students do not have access to your Canvas course shells until the first day of the term. And that's the course term for that class. So if it's a class that starts at mid-semester, your students won't be able to get into it until mid-semester, the first day of the course term. You can change that, and I can show you how to do that if you wish. That's a new capability that has been brought about by our new dean. I think it's a wonderful idea. You can now start your Canvas course early if you like, and you can also keep it open for students after the end of the term if you need to finish up some last minute business. So you have been given the control over when your students can see your courses, but by default, they will not be able to get into your course shells until the first day of the course term at very early in the morning on that day. So if I don't have any classes for summer, I will not be able to work on my course shells. you won't be able to work on the live shells, but you can get development shells right now. And I'll show you how to do that. That's obviously a critical factor at this point in time because summer is roaring down upon us, and all courses in the summer are going to be online. And it looks like the vast majority of them in the fall, at least the lecture portions of them, are going to be online as well. So this is a critical factor. You need those development shells pronto. And you can get those by using something I needed to show you in Canvas anyway. Indeed, the first thing you should learn when approaching a new complex software system that you have to use is how to get help for it. Once you know how to get help, the chances are pretty good you can figure out most of the things you need to know all by yourself. Not that we won't be there to answer questions for you, but sometimes it's nice to be able to figure something out right away so that you don't have to wait for us to get back to you. And in Canvas, that option is in this global navigation menu again. Next to the bottom link in that menu is the help button. And that help button is a lifeline for you and for your students. You both have access to it. At the top of that menu are the most important links, the Canvas support hotlines. These are 24/7, 365 toll-free hotlines that you can call whenever you need to. And I do mean at 2 a.m. on Christmas Day. You may get the B team at that time. somebody who got diddling with the boss's daughter, caught diddling with the boss's daughter or something like that. But you will get someone who can help you. These folks are wonderful. There's both a faculty and a student number that can be called. So they have different groups of people with different expertise for the different numbers. And you and your students can get help with this anytime. And one of the things you can get help with as faculty is getting development shells for the courses that you need. All you have to do is call that number and wait a little while, probably right now. As you can imagine, Canvas has just, like everybody else, has just been overwhelmed by this sudden rush to put courses online nationwide, worldwide for that matter. Canvas is used all over the world. So there may be a little bit of a wait, but the wait times have been coming down dramatically over the last few weeks. So you won't have to wait too long now to get through, we trust. And calling it off-peak times, that is particularly off-peak times relative to the eastern United States, where there are more users than there are at home. There are a lot of Canvas users in California too. So trying to call it off-peak times will help too. But you should be able to get through most any time if you're willing to wait a little bit. And they will make you, among other things, they can make you development shells. Typically, you would get one development shell for each different course you teach, like one for English 101, one for English 205, and things like that. Though you can request more if you have reason to. Let's talk a little bit about this help menu because this is critical. And indeed, you should request your development shells as soon as you can, as quickly after this session as possible, because hopefully some of this will still be fresh in your mind. Of course, you will have the option to go back and watch this again online, and I'll show you where to find that, or to find the recording of this session. And indeed, we have done this session many times, and there are already many recordings of this session online that you can watch. But it's nice to have it fresh in your mind from a live presentation too. Another critical link on this menu are the Canvas guides right here in the middle. Just about everything you need to know, could possibly need to know about Canvas is included under this link, both for you and your students. There are instructor guides and student guides, and they are arranged by subject. you want to know about Canvas assignments, you just click there, and there's a ton of tutorials. There are hundreds of these tutorials. They are like, how do I create an assignment? They're text and screenshot tutorials for the most part. And everything you need, and they try to keep them bite-sized. That's why there's so many of them, so that you're not overwhelmed with information in one screen. So just about anything you need to know about Canvas is included in these guides, and those you have instant access to all the time. We also have our own Canvas tutorials. Oh gosh, I could swear I changed that. That's my playlist for my Canvas tutorials on YouTube, but that should be going, apologies, I can swear I updated that, to our on-demand website, on-demand video tutorial website at the district, open on demand at the SDCCD. That is accessed at this URL, sdccdolvid.org. Let me put that in the chat tool. Okay, that's at the bottom of the chat tool. And there are many Canvas and Zoom tutorials and other subjects here. If you want your Canvas tutorials, just type Canvas in the search box and press enter. And there are 7 pages of Canvas tutorials, about that dense. Lots of stuff. And you can, of course, search for more detail. You can also filter the search more. So these are always available to you 24/7. This is also where the recordings of our Zoom training sessions are kept. Our Zoom training sessions delivered via Zoom about Canvas, Zoom, and lots of other stuff. At the top of this homepage here, or at any top of any page within this site, is this menu, access menu, and one of the buttons on that menu is Workshop Archives. If you click there, you'll see all of our recent Zoom training sessions. Indeed, all by recent, I mean going back to 2016. There's 6 pages of those. So there's a ton of recordings there. Many, like this one, the last time I did this particular session was I was off the first page already. There we go, Canvas overview on April 14th. So these sessions are all quite similar, so you could look at any of them. But the recording for this particular session should be up there by tomorrow. All right, getting help. That is the critical thing in learning to use Canvas. So everything else is easy, right? Well, maybe we won't stop right now. We've still got an hour and a half. So we'll talk a little more about Canvas here before we leave. All right. Let's see. Now I need let's go and take a look then at what a Canvas course looks like. I'm going to do this 2 ways. I have a Canvas course here that's already built and ready to use. And then I'm also going to use a sandbox shell, which will be a blank shell, and I can show you how to start developing your Canvas shell from scratch. And oops, as will happen sometimes, that's moved around in my dashboards. Bear with me a second while I find that. I have been at this way too long, and I don't want to. Let's see. Oh, I just use this purple one here. I'm going to go ahead and ream this one out. This is not an option you have, unfortunately. It's a rather dangerous option. I just made that a blank shell. So this is what your Canvas shells look like when they come to you. They're totally blank. Your development shells will look like this. Your live shells will look like this initially. With your development shells, you will put your content in. You'll build the course probably from scratch. Or you may have some content somewhere else that you can import into it. We'll talk about that in a moment. But this is what you will get, blank shells. You will then either put your content in manually the first time, or you'll copy it from somewhere else. Like with your live shells, you'll have your development shell set up, everything ready to go, or enough to get started anyway, and stay one step ahead of the students. And then you'll copy that content into your live shell, and I'll show you how to do that, of course. But this is what a blank Canvas shell looks like when you enter it. I'm going to go back to my dashboard, and I can always hop back to my dashboard out of a course by clicking on the dashboard link in the global navigation menu over here. And I'm going to pull up a course that's already been developed, just to give you an idea of what a Canvas course can look like anyway. They can look like a lot of different things, but this is a fairly typical basic Canvas course. When you first enter the Canvas course, you are dropped into what is called the Modules tool. And there's a link to, if you need to get back to this later, there's a link to that tool in the course menu here. So you have this course menu that has a lot of, gives you access to settings for your course, to tools that you'll need to use in your course, tools you'll need to use setting up your course, and so on. But you'll spend most of your time in the Modules tool. That's the heart of any Canvas course. And by default, that is where you and your students are dropped the first time, or when you first enter the course. This is the so-called course entry point. It's the default course entry point. You can change that, but this is the default, and it's a good default because it means that you're looking at your course materials. This is where your course, this is where you will put links to content that your students need to read or view or interact with. This is where you'll put links to assessments like quizzes. To Canvas, all tests are quizzes, whether it's a pop quiz or a final exam, it's a quiz. So you'll have access, you'll also provide access to quizzes, homework assignments, which students typically satisfy by uploading a file that they've created offline, or discussion forums, graded discussion forums. Those are your three types of assessments you can use in Canvas, and they give you tremendous flexibility. But you put links to those in the Modules tool. And you can also put links to other sorts of activities or resources in the Modules tool. But primarily what will go in there are content items and links to assessments. This is called the Modules tool because of the way it's organized, or is typically organized. It's organized as a series of related collections of links called modules. Like a module is surrounded by white space here. This is a module, the first module in this course. And within that module are links to content and activities that you want your students to view or perform. And these links, these activities, and these content items are all related to one another logically in some way. The links within a module are logically related to one another, typically. For instance, this first module in this course is called Getting Started, because this is the stuff that you typically go over on the first day of class in your physical classroom. things like your syllabus, like your information. Who is, who are you? What makes you qualified to teach this course, and so on. All those things that you go over with your students immediately. A welcome page is maybe an initial discussion, class discussion, and maybe a quiz on the syllabus, which is always a good thing. See if they actually read it or not. So you can give them a little credit for that, for reading the syllabus. And anything else that any other sort of information or activity that you need the students to interact with before they start on the actual meat of their coursework, before they start on your subject matter. And typically, as I say, these are the things that you go over on the first day of class. That's not an uncommon choice for the purpose of the first module within a Canvas course. And it's typically followed by a series of content modules or subject matter modules where you present the students with things they need, information they need in the form of text or pictures or videos or whatever, along with a series of links to things that the students need to do, like quizzes and homework assignments and class discussions. So you have links to all of those within your subject matter, your content modules. And the content modules can be organized in whatever manner you deem appropriate. But typically, each module represents some logical subdivision of your course, like what you would do the first week in the classroom. Or what maybe the first chapter in your, or maybe the chapters in your textbook, or as you see here, topics that may span different weeks or chapters or whatever in your face-to-face syllabus. So, but some sort of logical organization of the content and assessment links that you're providing to your students. You can do things like put all your PowerPoint presentations in one module, and all of your lecture notes in another module, and all of your exam prep notes in a third module, and so on. And that will work. But extensive research and years of experience have suggested that the modules are better organized around logical subdivisions of your course, like week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, topic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever, so that the organization makes sense to the students. Because if that's done well in an online course, and the students come into the Canvas course and they see their modules, either immediately or perhaps after viewing a startup page of some sort, but just having them dropped right into the modules is not a bad choice. And then they can just start at the top of the first module and work their way down. And when they get to the bottom of the last module, they're done with the course. There's my final project. They get to this right here and satisfy that, and they're done. They know that they're done. You can, of course, control when they can see these modules and so on. If you don't want them to be able to work downward at their own speed, you can limit their access to these things by date and time, but you don't have to. And in this way, the students, with a course organized modularly, like this is called modular course design. It's the gold standard for online course design. If the course is designed modularly like this, the students know where to start, they always know where to go next, and they know when they've finished something. And they don't have to wonder, well, is there anything else I need to be doing for this chapter before I move on? It's clear to them. And I got to tell you, for students in an online class, that is very, very important. Nothing will drive students out of an online class faster than not knowing what to do, not knowing where to start, not knowing what to do next. That confuses the daylights of them, and they will give up in way too many cases. So modular course design saves attrition, makes it a lot easier for the students to navigate the course, and it makes life a lot easier for you because you have to ask or answer a lot fewer questions like, what do I do now? I finished this, what's next? Well, what's next in the module? That's what's next. That's why I put it there. So the modular course design is a marvelous thing. And Canvas is designed to almost, not exactly force you into it, but dramatically encourage you to employ modular course design, because the modules tool is the heart of the course. Everything else is just peripheral to this link, the modules. Let's see. Just looking to see if there are any critical questions here. You seem to be doing okay. Again, if something I'm saying is just not making sense, let me know, and I will be happy to expand upon that. And indeed, that's what we're going to do now. This is what a course, the modules part of a course, looks like typically. So the next question becomes, how do you reproduce that? How do you create a course? How do you put content in? How do you create assessments? How do you provide them to your students and make sure it all works? But what I'm going to say now hopefully will make more sense, having seen at least one example of this sort of thing. So I'm going to go to another course. I just go back to my dashboard here. And let's pick out that course that I just cleaned out. Let's see. And I thought I had it. There it is, all the way at the bottom, when you know it. Okay. All right. All right, here's our blank course shell. What do we do now? Well, these two big icons here tell us our two options for starting. If we have some content already on Canvas, we can start here by adding existing content. Or if we have some content on another learning management system somewhere, like on the old Blackboard system, if you had some content there, we can still bring that. We still have access to that old system. We can bring that content over. You can bring it over and put it into Canvas and then clean it up and get it ready to use. Or maybe you'll be fortunate enough to have a kind colleague who's willing to share their intellectual property with you and provide you with an export of their course where you can just drop it in and you have something to begin with from scratch. That's always worth asking around. In many cases, there are instructors who will provide you with a course shell. Instructors who obviously teach the same course as you teach might be willing to share their content with you. Also, some departments have developed sort of generic shells for different major courses that they teach, and they make those available to faculty within that course or within that department. So you might check with your department head or dean to see if any content like that is available for the asking. But there's another place you can look as well. Let's see, Dan, better to import directly from Canvas or download archive from Blackboard? Well, in order to get content from Blackboard, it does have to be downloaded from Blackboard into a Blackboard export file and then imported up into Canvas. And we can still get you those content from Blackboard. Our old Blackboard system is actually still out there. It's not accessible to instructors anymore normally, but it is. We can still get to the content. So you just let us know what you need, and we'll pull it out for you. And then you can import that content in the development shell in Blackboard or in Canvas. In Canvas, Blackboard to Canvas still works. But there's another place you can look other than asking a colleague or whatever. And that is over here in your Canvas Global Navigation or System menu. It's the link labeled Canvas Commons. The Canvas Commons is an astounding collection of online education materials from people all over the world who use Canvas, who have decided to share their content freely with you and everybody else who uses Canvas. In some cases, you'll be asked to attribute anything that you borrow. So I got this from so-and-so. Mostly not. Mostly you can just throw it in and use it as if it were your own. People have been very generous in doing this. And thousands and thousands of people. There are almost 110,000 what are called learning objects in here. And these learning objects range from individual documents to content modules, like the modules we saw in that other course, to quizzes, homework assignments, all the way up to, and let's say, I don't know if there's any on the first page, all the way up to complete courses that you can import into your development shell and utilize. Keep what you like, throw away what you don't. Give you a starting point at least. Just a phenomenal collection here. Can somebody give me a subject category? What is your
drawing and painting?
Ardith, what was that?
Drawing and painting, or color theory, something like that. Can you hear me?
I'm having a little trouble distinguishing what you're saying. I'm sorry.
Oh. How about color theory or drawing
color
and
theory.
painting?
Try it. Color theory.
Yeah. It's that headset that's doing it.
17 results. And that's a very specific search. I mean, a subcategory within a larger subject. If I had put art up here, for instance, I would have gotten thousands of hits. But you can search very specifically. And here, let's look at what we got. We've got modules. We've got quizzes. Let's see. And we've got an entire course on Art Foundations 1. Boy, that's pretty cool. And actually, there's more than one. Digital media, fundamentals of design, entire courses that you can take.
Oh, look, the elements and principles of art.
I'm sorry?
Oh, the elements and principles of art. I just saw it right there.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a quiz, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can import any of this into your course shell, and it's really easy to do. Let's say, just for the sake of argument, that we like the look of this course and we wanted to look further into it. We can click on the link to its name, and we get a preview of the course. And we can get more detail on that if we like. Comes from Ivy Tech. And this is the author. And you can go through and you can look at a lot of the course materials and see if there's stuff there that looks useful. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, again, that we like the look of this and we want to import it into our course. we just go to this big blue button here that says import/download. Click on that, and we just find the course that we want to put that content into, the course shell that we want to put that content into, which is probably a blank shell that we've been provided with. I believe that's the one I'm working on right now. I've got so many that your list hopefully won't look like this for many years. And so you just pick the course you want to drop this stuff into, and you click this blue button at the bottom that says import into course. And within a few minutes, you'll have that stuff in your course, and you can start sorting through it. Again, keep what you like, throw away what you don't. So this can get you started in a hurry, or provide you with some extra content for a course that you've already developed. Because by copying this material into your course, you do not wipe out anything that you already put in there. This will just add to it. And you can throw away the things you don't like. So that can give you a leg up in a hurry. So it's worth spending the time on here to talk about it. I'm not going to actually do that because we're going to be developing this blank shell from scratch. Yes.
How do you throw things away that you don't like?
It depends on what it is. Usually there's a menu you can click on with a delete option in it, and you can just throw it away. Okay. Like a module. Let's say you had a module in a course that you'd imported that you didn't want. You could just go to the modules tool in the course, and at the top of the module is a menu, a context menu. Your little 3 vertical dots. You click on that, and there's a delete option right there.
Oh, okay.
It's something like that in most cases.
All right.
So you can just get rid of something you don't want, or you can just hide it, and maybe you'll use it later.
Oh, that's an idea too.
Yeah, like all I would have to do to hide a module from my students would be to unpublish it.
Oh, okay, got it.
See, that's what these, by the way, that's what these white check marks and green circles mean. They mean that these items are published. They're visible to students. Assuming the students can get into the course at all, they can then see anything that is published. But with a module, the whole module has to be published, or the whole thing is hidden from students. And then you also have the option to publish and unpublish individual items within the module. And you can always see very clearly whether something is published or not, including the entire course. If we go back to our blank shell, which I hope will come to the top here in a minute automatically. This course is unpublished. Even if I had students enrolled in it, they wouldn't be able to see it at this point in time. But making it visible to them is as simple as clicking on the button labeled Publish. That's something you have to do before your students are able to see the course or enter it. So that's something to remember. We always get a few, more than a few phone calls every beginning of every semester. I can't get into my course. Well, we go in and look, and it hasn't been published. So save us the grief, yourself and us the grief, if you will. We would appreciate that. It's easy to forget. We've forgotten a few of those ourselves. Okay, so that all deals with adding existing content. But that's not what we're really here to talk about today. We're here to talk about how to build your course from scratch. Because at some point you're going to probably have to do that. Even if you get a head start by importing somebody else's course materials or your course materials from Blackboard or whatever, you're still going to have to add new content and new assessments and things like that from time to time. So you need to know how to build the course manually, as it were. And that's what this second link or the big icon is on the home page of your blank shell. And since content in Canvas is provided to students through modules, as we've already discussed, the first thing you do if you're going to add stuff manually to your course, content, assessments, things like that, is to create your first module. And that's what that button will do for you. If you click on that button, you get the Add Module dialog box or Add Module page. And this, as is the case with many windows in Canvas, is very simple. They try to keep these windows as simple as they possibly can. That is Canvas's niche among learning management systems. There are a number of learning management systems on the market, but Canvas's claim to fame is the simplicity, relative simplicity of its interface. The interface design in Canvas, user interface design in Canvas is about as good as it gets. And it is much simpler to learn than the vast majority of learning management systems, both for you and especially critically for your students. We rarely have students have, in a well-designed Canvas course, we rarely get questions from students like, what do I do? It's obvious enough to them. And how to do it is pretty obvious too, because Canvas's user interface makes it easy to figure out. And to a great extent, that translates to you when you are building your course as well. It's a simple, it's a relatively intuitive user interface, far more so than Blackboard. So here, there's only one thing we can do really in this page. Well, one major thing to do here, and that's to give your first module a name. And what you name a module depends on what you're going to put in it, what links you're going to put in it. But the one I like, as I demonstrated in the other course, very often the first module you put in covers the stuff, contains the stuff that you cover on the first day of class. So it might be named Introduction or Welcome, or my personal favorite, Getting Started. But obviously you can call it anything you like that makes sense to you and you think will make sense to your students. So you just type the name and click Add Module, and you have your first empty module. You're on your way to developing your Canvas course. But it is right now an empty module. So how do you add content? How do you add links to it? When I say you put stuff into a module, your content doesn't actually live in the modules usually. Your content lives somewhere else. It may live in the assignments tool in Canvas, or it may be files that live in your file manager. There may be Canvas pages that live in your pages tool, or quizzes that live in the quizzes tool, and so on. But what you're going to do in the modules tool is you're going to create links to content, to assessments. And in many cases, you can actually create the content or the assessments themselves from within the modules tool, but that's not where they live. What lives in the modules tool are links to content, links to assessments, and so on. And to put links, to put items into a module, you go out to the right, and you have three icons out here on the right-hand end of the name bar for the module. There's a publish link. You can publish that so students can see it, or keep it unpublished until you're ready, just by clicking on that one. You also have a context menu here, which allows you to do things like delete the module or move it around or share it or whatever. But the link you'll use the most often is this little plus sign, which means obviously add content to the module. So you click on that plus sign and you get an add item to module box. And what can you add? Well, the things you can add are contained in this menu here at the top of the box. You open that menu by clicking on the little caret there, down caret. We see that we can add assignments, homework assignments, quizzes. Those are straightforward enough. Files and pages are what we're going to talk about first. Those are content items. We can add links. We can create and add links to discussion boards. I won't worry about text headers right now. Or external URLs. An external URL is what we call a web link in Blackboard. It's a link to content outside of Canvas. Like if you were teaching, don't fail me now, imagination. Say you're teaching history and you wanted to link your students to the Smithsonian Institution. You could put a link to the Smithsonian's homepage here using an external URL and anything else you can imagine. So what we're going to talk about first here is how to put content in, things that students would read, view, interact with, learn from. And then we'll talk about how to put links into assessments where you can use those to evaluate your students' performance and understanding of the content that you provided to. But we'll start with content. And the content is going to consist in Canvas, is going to have to be presented to students as files, pages, or external URLs, links to content outside of Canvas that probably somebody else has already created. The external URL is pretty obvious, but the other two require a little explanation. What's the distinction between a file and a page? A file to Canvas is a computer file that you have created or acquired in some manner that is stored probably on your local hard drive, your home computer, your office computer. This could be a Word document, a PDF, a PowerPoint presentation, an Excel spreadsheet, or just about any other kind of computer file that you might have sitting on your hard drive. Those are things that you can upload to Canvas so that Canvas can provide that content to your students and then put a link to in the module so that students have a way to access that file. What's a file that you might want to upload into your Getting Started module? What's a type of file you might want to upload?
The syllabus?
By type, I mean, somebody said it? The syllabus.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. That's probably the first thing you want in your Getting Started module is your course syllabus. And typically, we find the course syllabus, we type it up in Word and have it printed out and give it out to students in class. But with Canvas, you don't have to do that. With Canvas, you can take that Word document or PDF that you created from the Word document, whatever format your syllabus is in, and you can upload it to Canvas and create a link to it in Canvas so that your students can click on the link and bang, up comes your syllabus. They can read it, they can print it, they can carry it around next to their hearts, and you don't have to run it off, and they can't lose it. It's always there online. Such a deal. So let's say we're going to upload our syllabus here. We say we want to add a file, and this is a blank course. There ain't nothing in it. So we have to add a new file. If I had already uploaded files to Canvas, which I could do outside of the modules tool, using the files link over here in the course menu, I might have a list of files here that I could just select and add a link to my module. But in this case, I'm starting from scratch. So I'm going to upload a new file. I tell Canvas that by clicking where it says new file. That's a little, it's not counterintuitive, but it's not as intuitive as it might be. You have to know to click on the words new file or new whatever in order to get the process started. Canvas says, oh, you have a file on your local computer that you want to upload. Fine. Tell me which file that is and where it's located. That's what that Choose File button is for. So you click Choose File, and you find the file somewhere on your hard drive. If your hard drive is as much of a mess as mine, that takes longer than uploading it to Canvas probably. I think I have this in I think I can find it. There we go. And here I've got a syllabus. It's a Word document. That's great, but it could be a PDF or a web page or whatever form you have that in. Word document's probably the most likely. Mm-hmm. And so I select my syllabus file and click Open. And that tells Canvas that that's the file I want. And then to both upload that file to Canvas and store it in your file manager in your course, your file space in your course, and create a link to it in the module, you click Add Item. And just that fast, there's my syllabus in my Getting Started module. Nothing much to it. So if you have a bunch of files on your local hard drive that you already have created to use in your class, lecture notes, PowerPoint presentations, exam reviews are typical. You can put those into appropriate modules, one right after another. Bang, 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 bang. So it just doesn't take much time at all. Once they're in there, what I have here, of course, is a link to the file. The file itself is living over here in the file manager. If I click on that link, here's that file I've just uploaded. This is kind of like your Finder on the Mac or your Windows Explorer for this Canvas course. But if I go back to my module, here's the link to it. And the student can come in. It's published. And if I publish the module, the student can come in, click on that link, and your syllabus will appear. The student can read it right here. By the way, it appears first in a so-called file on a server-side file viewer. So the student doesn't even have to download this, wait for this file to download to their local computer and then open up in Word or some Word viewer on their computer. Canvas shows it to them through this file viewer. Yes?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. No problem. So that happens a lot faster than it used to in Blackboard, where the file would have to download all the way to the student's computer, and then the student's Word would have to open up and display it to them. Here they see the file much faster, which is a nice bit of interface or a nice bit of LMS design. However, if they want to download it and print it or something like that, or just keep a copy of their own, they can click this link right here and download it to their local computer as well. So they have both options. And now we can just go back to the modules tool and do it again. I could just keep adding files. Boom, 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 one right after another. Assuming I already have those files created, or assuming I go and create them in Word and then drop them in the Canvas. So that's how you add files to a module in Canvas. Very quick, easy, simple. It doesn't take long at all. Of course, the hard part is creating the files, knowing your subject matter well enough to produce instructional materials for your students. But once you've done that, you're ready to go. Or instead of, if you don't already have a file created on your home computer, you can create what are called Canvas pages right on Canvas. Canvas pages are documents of a sort. They're basically web pages that you can create inside Canvas. And you can create them just as easily as you can create a Word document, at least on your own computer, because Canvas provides you with a nice editor to do that. So if you're creating content from scratch, rather than going and typing it in Word and then uploading the Word document to a module in Canvas, you might well decide to just create this content in the form of a Canvas page, and which is an extremely versatile and powerful content type in Canvas. It's the main alternative to uploading files in the Canvas. To create a Canvas page, you again go to this plus sign at the top of the module, and instead of selecting from this menu here a file, you select a page. You say, wait a minute, I don't have any pages yet. Well, that's okay. This Canvas is going to give you the opportunity to create this page. So we click on the word page in the menu, and we click on new page because we don't have any yet. If you're creating a new page, you'd always click on new page. This option will always be there. We click on that, and Canvas asks you to do one more thing, which is to give the page a name. Since this is our getting started module, we might just call it welcome. But if this were a module for week 1 in your course, this might be week 1 objectives, or week 1 lecture notes, or week 1 PowerPoint presentation, or what? Well, it wouldn't be a PowerPoint presentation. That'd be a file. But it might be any sort of information associated with what you do in the first week of your term. But in this case, we'll just call it a welcome page and add the item. That produces a new link in our module, but it's a link to an empty page, a blank sheet of paper, as it were. If I click on that link, I just get the title of the page, and there's nothing else there. How do I put stuff into that page? How do I develop this page? We'll see if this interface is as intuitive as I think it is. What would you do next, based upon what you see on the screen here?
Probably upload.
Edit.
Edit. Yeah, upload would be a file. That's something we already have created on our local computer. And you don't see that option here. But you do see the option to edit. And if I click that, I get that nice little editor we talked about. Think of this as mini Microsoft Word or mini Dreamweaver or whatever. It's a compact but very powerful content editor. It's called the Rich Content Editor in Canvas terminology, the RCE. And it will allow you to create very sophisticated pages full of all sorts of different types of content. You can type text into it. It's a text editor. You have all your usual text editing tools here, or most of them. Not everything that you'd have in Word, but more than enough in most cases. So this we might type welcome to, and the example course I was using was an old Flex course that I used to teach online years ago called Introduction to Screencasting. This could just, welcome to English 101, welcome to composition and rhetoric, whatever. Again, I have all those usual text editing tools. I can center that. I can make it bigger. I can bold it. I can italicize it. I can underline it. I can change the color, all the usual stuff. I can even change the font if I... well, no, that's one thing you can't do a lot with. You can't select fonts here. You can change between headers and normal paragraph text, but you have a limited control over the typeface that's used here. That's one disadvantage to a web editor, mainly because in web pages you have very little control over typeface. That is governed by the web browser that the student has used to access it. So not much you can do about that. So you can type and create text and control the appearance of the text to a certain extent. More than enough generally to, if you're not teaching a course in typography, you should be fine here. So what else can you put in here? Well, you can put images in. Like maybe you want a little banner image to brand it. I could just move this down by pressing enter on the keyboard, and I could insert an image here. I do that, I can add other types of content other than text using the tools on the second line of the editor here. I could insert an image, for instance, using the embed image tool, which is kind of like the little symbol that you see on your iPhone for the same thing, or your Android phone. Click that embed image tool, and we're asked to provide that image. If the image were already online, which is possible, I suppose, you could just provide a web link, a URL, but that's unusual. It escapes me why that is the default choice. Normally, you're going to upload this file to Canvas from your local computer and then embed it in this document. You do that by clicking the Canvas tab here. I don't know if anybody uses Flickr anymore, which is an online photo repository. There's so many competitors. But Canvas is, so you're probably going to click on the Canvas tab, and you're going to decide whether to put the file in your course file or your personal file folder on Canvas. Most of the time you'll put it in the course file. You click that to tell Canvas it goes into course files, and this little button, upload file button, lights up. It's ready to go. I'm ready. Show me where the file is. So you click upload file, and Canvas opens up a dialog box where you can go and find the file you want to upload. I have pictures in my pictures folder, and have something similar on the Mac. So I go and I look for a picture that I might use here. I'm looking for like a branding banner here, and I have somewhere here there it is, the Online Learning Pathways logo. But this might be some other picture you want to use, doesn't matter. You select that picture and you click open. And the file uploads to your course files. Name of it appears here. You do want to provide, since this is a picture, you do want to provide what's called alt text, alternate text, for blind students whose screen reader software can't describe the picture to them. You need to do that. And this is the Online Learning Pathways logo, or some other information. Larnin. Sorry, I was born in grew up in West Virginia. We did a lot of Larnin there. Obviously, not enough when it came to spelling. So, Online Learning Pathways, not Online Learning Pathways logo. And then I just click update, and that logo appears. Or any other image you want to put in. I could put a picture of myself here. You won't believe how hungry your online students are to see what you look like, so that you're not just a disembodied presence like, is it Orson in Mork and Mindy, or the Wizard of Oz in the movie and so on. They want to know what you look like. They want to know you're a human being. So you can do that same way. Embed image, Canvas, course files, upload file. And I think I have a picture of myself there that's relatively recent. Yeah, I think I shot right past it. Sorry. I should know my...
Just past it.
I could swear I had that here. I probably just went right by it. Oh, shoot. Well, heck with that. I'll just use Bullwinkle, my spirit animal. There's Bullwinkle. Upload file. Oh, no, update. Sorry, I already did that. So there I am. Close enough. Looks better than me anyway. Okay. What else can we put in to a page using the rich content editor? Text, static graphics, video. Video is a tremendous tool to use when you're teaching online. Video that you find on YouTube that covers some aspect of your subject material, or video that you create. We have Zoom sessions on how to create video of different types and so on. We do them all the time. And there are recordings for them in that in the workshop archives here. We did one on instructional video production just the other day. There it is. My little TV studio here of sorts. So you can make or find video. And a Canvas page is the ideal content item to share those videos with your students. I think I have an introduction video to this course somewhere. And I can put that into Canvas by going to the Insert Edit Media tool in the Rich Content Editor, the movie component or corresponding to the still image tool here for embed images lets you insert pictures, still images. Insert Edit Media lets you put in video or audio or both. You click that tool and you're asked for the source of the media. This assumes the video is already online. We have other courses to show you how to put your own video online, or let's say it's something you found on YouTube. Okay, so what I need here is the URL, the web link for that video. So my go-to would be YouTube. And I'll go and look in my videos under YouTube Studio. I'm obviously already logged into my YouTube account. And I'll look through my video list and see if I don't have a welcome video here. Oh, that's not it. Introduction to screencasting. There. Oh, that's not the one I want. Where did I put that? Could have sworn it was there just a minute ago.
Message is received from Peter Bader, Seebeck.
And YouTube's messing with me. Well, let me just find something here. I'll use this one. I just find a video on YouTube that I want to embed in this page. Still experiencing the fallout from that. Back to the beginning of it here. And I just need to know the web address for this video. I could use what's right up here, but it's generally better, for a variety of technical reasons, to use the share link for this video, which you can get under the share button. And this is true whether you put the video up or somebody else did. There'll be a share link for it. You click on that, and here's the web address, the actual web address for that. And you click copy to put it on your clipboard. You go back to Canvas, you paste that link into this source box here and click OK. And there's an introduction to screencasting video. This one is actually a 2-hour introduction to screencasting that really sort of contains the entire course that I used to teach. But usually it would just be like a short welcome video. I don't know why I can't find my welcome video all of a sudden, but it happens to us all. We can put multiple videos in there if we want to. We can put other content in here. We can put links to content online in here using the link to URL button. Or we can link to content that is inside Canvas using this linked button over here. But let's just save this for the moment. And there's what the finished page looks like. It's got text, graphics, and video all embedded in it. And since I started this process from my modules tool, I also have a link to it in my Getting Started module. I can publish that, and now students would be able to come in here and click on that link in the module and bring this page up. And they can view these items, they can read the text, they can play the video right from here. And I know Katie Palacios has made a new editing tutorial, and I know she sent me the link in my email. And we can just press escape and go back and bring it back down to the embed. That's called embedding a video in a Canvas page. I did not actually upload the video to Canvas, so it didn't cost me any of my file space in Canvas. It just provided a sexy, well, as long as I'm not in it, a sexy looking link to a video that's stored somewhere else. So that's a Canvas page. The third common type of content that I might put into a module in Canvas would be an external URL, a web link. To do that, I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to make a new module because this might be a content link for a subject module, actual course content. We'll call this a guide to screencasting. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not what I meant to call the module. Excuse me. I can edit that name, and I can call this, let's call this Topic 1. What is screencasting? And why do I care? And I can add to that module a web link, an external URL. I just need to have the web address for the resource out on the web that I want to link to. I can get that from, I can search for it. Assuming I haven't already bookmarked it somewhere. There it is. That's the link, that's the resource I want. This is the web link to that. So I just copy that to my clipboard, go back to Canvas, paste that into the external URL, give it a name, so students know what to click on, maybe load it in a new tab, I like to do that, and then add the item. If I publish this module and this item, now a student could come in and click on this link, allow a new tab to open, and boom, up it pops. They can read it, they can view video and links that might be present here, things I didn't have to create. And then when they're done, they can just go back to their tab that has their Canvas in it and go back to the modules tool and proceed from there. So obviously there's a lot more to do to get this course ready to go, but it's just more of the same. Uploading files, creating Canvas pages, and inserting web links or external URLs. URL stands for Uniform Resource Locator, in case you're curious. Just means the address of the item on the web. And so all you have to do is just keep this up. You don't need any other fundamental techniques to do this. So that's content, adding content to your course. The other types of links you might put in your modules are links to assessments. Assessments that like quizzes and homework assignments and graded course discussions. Things that you want your students to do in order to demonstrate their mastery of the course material that you presented to them in files, pages, and external links. So how do we do that? Well, the same way we've done everything else, by going to the module where we want the link to the assessment to appear and click on the plus sign for that module and pick one of the assessment types that you can use in Canvas, a homework assignment, a quiz, or a graded discussion. Let's do a quiz first. So the hell, we don't have any quizzes in here yet, so it's going to have to be a new quiz. We got to give it a name. How about why screencasting quiz? I have a terrible habit of dragging off my shift button there. My mother told me I should learn to type. All right, why screencasting quiz? An add item. That creates a blank quiz and links it into your module. I can publish that later or now. But it's a blank quiz, just like we had a blank page before. We have to edit this quiz. When I go to the quiz editing screen, I've got two tabs at the top, one labeled details and one labeled questions. And those are fairly obvious. The details tab is your test options, things that describe or that control how the test works, like how many times can students take it, how long do they have, and so on. Questions, obviously, are going to be our test questions, but we start with the details tab here. We can type instructions, the stuff you would type at the top of the test paper. Yours will probably be more extensive than that. We can decide whether this will be a graded or a practice quiz, or a survey, which is just information collection, but here we're talking about quizzes, assessments. A practice quiz can be very useful to help students study. Graded quiz is obvious what that's good for. I'm not going to worry about assignment groups right now. We'll just skip over that. Now you have options on how this quiz is going to behave. I'd be cautious about using the shuffle answers option. That will randomly shuffle the order of answers in multiple choice, multiple answer questions. If you do that and you've got options like all of the above or B and C, but not D, that ain't going to work. So use that cautiously. Time limits, obvious enough. You set a time limit. Keep it tight. Online quizzes, that's one of the best thing you can do to ensure security in an online quiz is not give them time to cheat. So that they have to know, they have to be able to rock right through on their own or they won't finish the test. Maybe a minute per multiple choice question. You can give them multiple attempts or not. You can let them see their feedback or not. That is, you can let them see their test papers or not. Their test papers, quote unquote. Their attempts or not. And you can decide when and so on. We go into this in more detail in our assessments in Canvas session, but typically if you leave things at the defaults, it'll be pretty well fine. You can choose to show just one question at a time. That's also a security option. That prevents the students from easily scrolling back and forth, though. Indeed, you can stop them from going back at all by locking it. Don't worry about access restrictions. Those are usually handled. You can set dates, due dates for the test. You can set availability dates when the students can actually get into it. So you can make it available from maybe Saturday until usually the same as the available until date is usually the same as the due date, but not always. So you can set those quickly, and then you can just save the test. But of course, right now, we don't have any questions. So let's go and add a question to the test to see how that works. We can, we have three options here to add questions. We can type new questions right into Canvas. That's add new question. If we're lucky enough to have test banks, question banks that have been provided to us by publishers or that we've created, we can pull questions from those banks without having to retype them. And we can, by using question groups, we can have Canvas randomly select questions from question banks so that no two students get exactly the same test, which is a further security measure. But the the fundamental activity here is to add new questions. So we click on that button and we get our question in a Canvas question editor. We choose the type of question we want to add. These are the availables. A lot of different capability, a lot of different options, but multiple choice is the most common. I'll leave it at that. We set the number of points we want to award for the question. Then we type the question text. The following is a screencasting question. Hopefully you do a better job of typing the question text than I did. Then you have answers, possible answers that you have to put in. You can have as many as you like. By default, you get 4 spaces, but you can add more. So we might do Camtasia, Snagit, Zoom, or my favorite possible answer. My students always learn to pick this one. All of the above. They didn't know the answer. The safe thing to do is to pick all of the above. 70% of the time, they got the question right. All right. I do have to tell Canvas which answer is the correct one. It can't figure that out. When it gets that smart, they don't need us anymore. I don't want to be around when that happens. So I have to tell Canvas that's the right answer by clicking and dragging the little green arrow down here. and then update question. And that adds the question to the test. If I want to see more detail, I can click that box there. Let's see if I can't remember if I've got question banks in this course or not. Let me find, oh, I do. That's cool. So I can pick a question bank here over on the left, and I can pick a question or two out of that very quickly and add those questions to the test. So now I've got 3 questions in the test. Don't worry about these numbers here. They don't mean anything. They won't even show up to the students when the test is finished. Or I can do question groups, which is a little beyond the scope of this particular presentation, but there is a tutorial in the on-demand site on how to use Canvas question groups. It's not difficult. It just takes more time than I've got right now. So let's say that's good. I save the test. Make sure it's published. And it's ready to go. And since I created it from within my modules tool, there's a link to it in the module. The student can go in, click on that quiz. Now, Canvas knows I'm the instructor, so it gives me the option to edit the quiz. But a student, what would it look like to a student? Well, I can tell by going to my home screen and clicking on Student View in the task menu on the right. That shows me the course as the students would see it. And I can even act as a student while doing this. I can take the quiz and go in. Whoops, I didn't make it available to students until tomorrow. Oops, this is one of the reasons you have Student View. It allows you to check to make sure things are working the way you think they are. Whoa, that won't do. If I want the students to begin taking it today, I got to go back and I can go to my module and I can find that quiz, click on it, edit it, and change the availability to today or yesterday, today at 12 a.m. So it should be available to students if I make that change. So your test student, your student view is a critical quality control measure. You can look at your course as a student and make sure things are looking the way you think they are without having to have a separate, somebody else do it for you as a student. So now, if the student clicks on that link, they can take the quiz. And they can I must not have saved those other questions. Shoot. I didn't update the test. My bad. So I've only got the one in there. Oh, no, I must have set it to one question at a time. Okay. Didn't mean to, but I guess I left that. Paste the URL of a particularly useful screencast. I think I still have one on there. Yeah. Next. Online meeting tools such as Zoom. This is a multiple drop-down question that can be used to record screencasts for all the above. Submit the quiz. Boom. The student, by default, automatically sees how they did, what they answered, but they don't see the correct answers. Though you can fix it so they do. That's an option you have. So that quiz works. It's ready to go. That's how it looks to students. So that's a quiz. That's how we create and put a quiz in. If I go back to the modules tool, we can also see how to put in a homework assignment by just clicking the plus sign again, selecting assignment. Sorry, that pitiful whining is my dog who's been trapped in the room with me. Sorry about that. He didn't want to have to listen to that.
That
Oh,
is
the joys of working from home. Yes.
so funny. That his little line was so funny. It's like he was.
I know. I could, for a minute there, I couldn't figure out who it was. I thought it was one of you all. I said, oh, God, not more of this. Please, please finish. All right. So we can create a new homework assignment. Click New Assignment. Give it a name. How about define screencasting? Add the item. Like the other things we've added, initially it's blank. So I just click on it and I edit it. And assignments are simpler than quizzes. You just put in some instructions for your students, like define the word screencasting, include possible applications for screencasting, and list at least 2 screencasting tools that can be used to create screencasts. Fairly simple, small writing assignment. I need to tell Canvas how many points to give to that assignment. We won't worry about assignment groups. Display the grades. I can display them as points or letter grades or percentages or other options, but usually points. Submission type. How are students going to turn this in? Well, right now our only option is online. We don't see them. It could be on paper if you were doing this, if you were using Canvas as a supplement for your face-to-face class, you could have them turn in the assignment on paper, but you could put the grades in Canvas. But usually it's going to be an online submission. The online text or online submission options include text entry, where they would actually just type the answer into a text box that Canvas provides to them while they're submitting the assignment. Or you can make it a file upload option where they create the file offline like a Word document and then upload it to a Dropbox, a receptacle that the assignment provides them. Or you can give them both options if they want to do it either way. You can have it checked for plagiarism if it's an extensive writing assignment. You can set due dates and availability dates just like you could with quizzes. And then you just save it and publish it. We go back to the modules tool. There's a link to it. If we go and become our test student again by going to Student View off the home page, there's the homework assignment. I did publish it this time and I didn't lock them out of it. The student gets some basic information. And then what's not entirely intuitive is that in order to get started satisfying the assignment, they have to click the button marked Submit Assignment. I've had people ask me at this point, well, how do I upload my file that I've created for the assignment? Well, you got to click Submit Assignment first. And what that should say is like start submitting assignment. You haven't told Canvas where the file is yet. I have 2 options, file upload or text entry. The student could just type their answer right here, or more likely they would upload a file that they created offline. on their local computer or on their smartphone for that matter. Your students can do this sort of thing on their smartphones too. Indeed, they can take your entire course on their smartphones, and some of them will be doing that because they don't have computers. So it's something to keep in mind. So if I'm doing a file upload submission, I just click Choose File to find the file on my local hard drive. I hope I can find it. There we go, screencasting definition. A Word document, that's good. Click Open. I could submit multiple files if I needed to, but usually one is what's called for. And click Submit the assignment. And boom, it's up there. If I leave student view, that assignment's now waiting for you to grade it. In the case of an objective quiz, you don't have to grade it because Canvas can grade it. You've told Canvas what the answers are to those questions. But with a homework assignment, usually you have to grade it yourself. You do that by going to the Grades tool, which is your grade book. And there's that Define Screencasting tool, or that's Define Screencasting assignment. This little symbol tells me that the student has submitted this assignment. So I click on that, go click the little right arrow here, and we go into great detail about this on our during our grading in Canvas seminar. And we've spent 2 hours on this sort of thing. So I'm just going to give you the highlights here. You go to the Speed Grader, which is your grading interface in Canvas, and there's the submission. You can read it, put your thinking cap on and decide, well, that's probably worth about 8 points out of 10. You just type in the grade. You can add comments. The famous faint praise. And you can also upload files with comments. You can actually include a little video, which again, we show you how to do in the grading seminar. Or my favorite, not bad. You could have included more information about tools. Other than that, the definition was very good, period. That only works if you're in Chrome, using the Chrome web browser. But it works like a shot when it works. And then you can submit the grade and the comments to the grade book and go back to the grade book, and there's the grade. And the student can go in and see your comments and see the grade using their grades tool, which is entirely different from your grades tool. Your grades tool gives you access to your grade book. Their grades tool just gives them access to a list of their grades. So they can't see each other's grades. That's a question we get sometimes. The students can only see their own grades and their own feedback. And they can access all of this stuff through the modules that you've created for them. One more thing. We got 5 minutes. I think I've pretty much covered everything here. Discussions. Canvas also gives you a marvelous tool that can that will allow you to assign, encourage, create class discussions. These discussions can be carried out asynchronously. That is, not everybody doesn't have to be online at the same time. Obviously, you could do synchronous discussions in Zoom, like we're doing right now. You can have a Zoom session with your students, and they can all be online at the same time, and you can talk about things. But what are your chances of getting everybody online at the same time? Especially in a class that is nominally fully online, very difficult. It takes a lot of persuasion on your part. Usually threats and bribery are involved as well. But even so, it may be difficult to get everybody online at the same time. They don't have to be in the same place, but they do have to be online at the same time if you're going to have a live discussion in Zoom. The discussion tools in Canvas eliminate the need for everybody to be online at the same time. They are like bulletin boards. Imagine a bulletin board hanging on the wall in your physical classroom. You go up and with a piece of paper and a thumbtack, you put up some directions about the discussion that is to follow. Like a discussion that I sometimes used in this course was share with your peers different sorts of applications of screencasting that you have used or might use in your own courses. So I type that on a piece of paper, I tack it onto the discussion board. And then a student comes by with a sticky note, and I write on the sticky note, here's 3 things that I've done with screencasting. And they put it on the bulletin board, maybe another thumbtack. Sticky notes don't stick anyway, we know that. So they tack it up there. And multiple students come by and do that. So there's a series of replies to my initial prompt. And then students start replying to each other. Maybe that first student who put something up there said these 3 things. And another student had a question about that. They put a sticky note and tack it to the bottom of the first sticky note, forming what's called a discussion thread. And other people pile in on that same discussion. You get this long string of sticky notes. That's what a Canvas discussion looks like virtually. Let's see what it looks like in fact. I'll have to leave this course and go to a course where I already have one with some posts in it, with some sticky notes in it. That was this course I demonstrated to you right off the bat. And here's that discussion forum that I was describing, or discussion topic. Canvas calls it. By the way, I put this into the module. Let's cover that question before it happens. I've got my modules link in a different place in every course. Not a good idea. I could go to this what I did was go to this module and click the plus sign again. We've gotten very sick of seeing that by now, and select discussion. And I could create a discussion from this point, but I already had this one. So I just clicked on it and I added the item, and that put a link to it in the module. Student clicks on that link, and here's the first post, my Bullwinkle. I can make software tutorials. I could give feedback for grading. I could do narrated PowerPoint presentations. And then Boris comes along later and gives 3 different ones. And another test student comes along and gives different ones. And that can just keep going. But Boris saw Bullwinkle's post and he had a question about it. So he hit the reply button underneath Bullwinkle's post and said, how long can your PowerPoint lectures be? And Bullwinkle sees that and he comes back later and hits reply under Boris's post. He says, as long as you can keep your students interested, which may not be as long as you think. And this is called a discussion thread. This is the so-called threaded discussion board. And you can put links to these individual discussions in your modules. You can also give students access to these through an overall link to your discussion board, which has all your discussion forums in it. And they can access them from here. Though typically we like to see students accessing content and assessments only from within the modules and not going over here in the course menu to do it. Now, how can you prevent them from doing that? Well, you can go to the settings link on your course menu And you can go to the navigation tab on the settings page. And if you don't want them to see the discussions link, you can just click and drag it down below the line here. And the students won't be able to see that discussion link anymore. Notice I've already done that with the assignments link and the quizzes link, which would give them access to their homework assignments and quizzes outside the modules. I hide those. I keep those for me. And these are things they probably need. These I don't think they do, because they can get to all of this stuff through the modules tool. So I can just save that change. And now discussions is no longer visible to my students. That's what this little /I means. So they have to get to their discussion forums through the modules tool and not through the discussion. So that forces them to access it in context with the other content and assessments that I've provided for them. And that's generally a good idea, because they're more likely to actually study for it before they and figure out what screencasting means and what some applications are before they just start posting at random and throwing stuff up against the wall and hoping it sticks. So that's another aspect of modular design that some people agree with and some don't. But that's my preference, certainly. I don't think the students in a well-designed Canvas course should have to go anywhere except the modules tool. Everything should be linked into the modules that they need to access and view and read or participate in. They should never have to use the course menu if that's at all possible, because that's more confusing. Going from top to bottom in the modules is a very simple concept for them to get. They don't have trouble finding things in your course that way. It seems like I've been doing a lot of talking here. Let's hear your voices, but first let me go to the chat tool. I see that you've been putting good questions in there all along. I tried to pick a few of them out, but let me go to the chat tool now and answer those questions, and then I'll open the floor for general questions about Canvas or anything else that that you have links about. Oh my gosh, somebody's having trouble with their district email. You can email me if you like, and I see if I can help at all. My email address, which I need to put in the chat tool, not to forget that. You send that to everybody. You're welcome to contact me at any time by email, and I'll help you in any way I can. So that's another way to get help.
Sir, this is Walker.
I'm
Sir,
sorry?
Walker. I have a question about the instructions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me take the ones in the chat tool first, then I'll throw it open, okay? All righty. Thanks for putting your email addresses in there. So if I do not have any classes for summer, I will not be able to work on my course shells. Not at all. You can get development shells and work on them right now. And that's how we recommend you do it. And I'll tell you why we use development. We encourage you to do development shells instead of providing your live shells earlier. Because that's what we started out doing. We started out providing the live shells months before the beginning of the term. And people kept messing with the entries for those courses in PeopleSoft, doing things like changing CRNs and having to delete the course and remake it because an instructor changed or something like that. And every time that happened, everybody who had taken their live shells in Canvas and worked on them lost what they'd done up to that point. We were able to get it back in most cases, but it was a major hassle for everybody because PeopleSoft, oh, I'm going to get myself into trouble. No, I'm not. PeopleSoft. And I was on the committee that advised on that decision. We all have regrets. But anyway, it's such a hot mess that people were being interrupted in their Canvas shell development and so on. It's not safe to use those live shells until like a week before the beginning of the term. So that's when we give them to you. But your development shells are untouched by PeopleSoft. PeopleSoft cannot get to your development shells. So you can be absolutely confident that your development shell will remain there and it will not be affected in any way by anything that happens in PeopleSoft or anywhere else in the universe. So you can safely develop your course, create your course in your development shell, and then at the last minute, copy that content over into your live shells. You do that by going to your live shell, like the one we started out there, that import shell, which is still down at the flipping bottom. It hasn't caught up with me yet. Oh, sorry. All right, I had that turned off, pardon me. You can go to the settings tool, the settings link in your course menu. Only you have access to that. The students don't. And you go to import course content. For content type, you select copy a Canvas course. This copies a course that's on our system that you have access to, that you are the instructor in, or the teacher, Canvas says. Copy a Canvas course. Search for a course by name. Type the first few letters of the name or the course code. That's the one I want. Select the appropriate course that you're going to copy from, copy the content from. This would typically be your development shell. Select all content, usually. You're going to copy everything, and then just click import. Process starts, queues up. You can go somewhere else and do something else, and it'll finish. You don't have to stay here and watch it. We'll watch it because these are small courses, so they copy quite quickly. How long this takes depends upon how busy Canvas is at any given moment and how big the course is. But little ones like this don't take long. So you get a little progress bar that runs across the screen if you're really bored and you're sitting here watching it happen. What else do we have to do, right? It's not safe to go out and do anything else. At least from Canva, from your computer, the only thing you can get is a computer virus. Oh, you're kind to laugh at that. That's weak humor. Okay, 3 issues. Well, you might check and see if there are any problems. Missing links, that just means that something didn't transfer properly. You'll find it later. Almost never is there a problem, a serious problem with this kind of transfer. Now, if we go back and look at this course, it looks entirely different than it did before. It's got lots more content in it. So, indeed, it looks like that course I used as an example right off the bat today. That's the one I copied. And that's all there is to copying the contents of your development shell into your live shell. And if you set your due dates and things like that in the development shell, they'll come over. Everything will be ready to go. You do this 1.5-minute process, 1.5 minutes of your time anyway. You may have to wait longer for that to complete, but starting it only takes 1 minute or 1.5 minutes, and you're done. And your course is ready. Your course shell, your live course shell, is now ready to go. Your students are already enrolled in it. That happens automatically, just as the course shell itself was created automatically by integrating with PeopleSoft and seeing what's in the course schedule and who signed up for it. You don't have to do any enrollment management, or you don't have to create your live shells. That all happens automatically and quite reliably in most cases. And you're ready to go. All you have to do is wait until you're ready for your students to see the shell, and you publish it. the shell itself comes with start and end dates. This is one I created, so I didn't put an end date in because I wanted to be able to use it indefinitely. But your shells, your live shells, will have start and end dates, but you can edit them both. So you can let students in early, or you can leave students in late at your discretion. You can thank Brian Weston, the new dean, for that. Used to be we'd let them in late, but we wouldn't let you in early because student services threatened us within an inch of our lives if we did. Apparently he has a better relationship with student services, or he's cruising for bruising. I don't know which. But anyway, he's decided to let you start early if you want to. And I think pedagogically, that's a wonderful idea. I want my students in there as quickly as possible and let them get familiarized with the course at least. You can control whether they can submit assignments and things like that before you're ready. But you can at least give them access to the content so they can start reading and looking through the course and getting familiar with it and asking questions. I think it's a wonderful idea to have students in there early. You can't put them in before you get your live shells, but you can put them in right on that, like a week early, and let them have early access if you like. So, a neat thing. Okay, that answered that question, I hope. Wow, I've learned new things already. That's great. Thank you. All right. How many modules are there for the instructors to go through? I suspect that's a question about the online faculty certification program. And the answer to that is 7. In terms of your courses, you can have as many modules as you like. And they can be as big or as small as you like. And they can cover as little or as much of your course as you like. There's no limit that I know to the number of modules that you can put in your own course. I somehow downloaded some information into my practice shell and published it. Now I want to remove it and start over. There is an option to do that in the on the settings page, but it's called the reset course content option. But we left that in there the first term we did this, and about a week into the term, a faculty member accidentally reset their course, blew it away, had no backup of it, and students had submitted work. And guess what happened to their work? That's the only time Canvas has ever lost grades in work that we know of. So immediately the powers that be ripped that option out of your settings menus. But administrators still have that option. So the answer to that question, if you want to clear out a course and start again with it, email me the information and I'll reset it for you. Because I don't see them changing their mind on that anytime soon. You know, what happened, I think, is the faculty member was reaching for the export course content button and hit reset by mistake, and then ignored that red message that popped up. Or if I click reset course content, I get this hair-raising warning and a big red button, and they were on autopilot, and they hit that big red button without thinking about it, and boom! You can imagine what that felt like. Yeah. I don't know if that person is able to laugh about it yet, who will remain nameless. Would you put the syllabus on PowerPoint? Sure, that's a neat idea. You could put the syllabus in PowerPoint slides. Can you show us another syllabus? I might have a sample one somewhere. Let me see. Let me go to the module. This is my sandbox here, so I can put anything in here I like. Let's add a file and a link to that file. We'll make it a new file and choose the file. Let's see what I have here. Let me just go to the go to my hard drive and search for Solvus. Working on it, it says. If this takes too long, I'm not going to make you wait on it. I'm not sure how long this search is going to take. Let's put that aside for the moment. I'll let that run. And if something pops up, I'll come back to this question. What about using a Flash-based activity online? Good idea or not? Talking about Adobe Flash, a programming tool from yesteryear that allows you to do some quite sophisticated simulations and activities online, but nobody has a Flash player on their computers anymore. Because for years they were the source of security risks, still are for that matter. The Flash players are still available and can be downloaded and installed, but it immediately puts the student's computer at some risk of hacking. And the student has to install it themselves. Nobody provides it as a matter of course these days. So I'd say I'd have to have a really good reason to use a Flash-based activity in a course today. Like I couldn't do it any other way before I do that. And then you're going to have to go to all the trouble of showing the students how to download and install the Flash player, which we probably still have a tutorial for somewhere, or we could certainly make one. But that's putting a lot of a load on the students for starters, and secondarily, it is increasing the vulnerability of the students' computers to external threats. So I'll just leave it right there. Can the students make a YouTube video larger while in the module? Oh, good question. I guess I neglected to show that. Obviously, I neglected to show that. Uh-oh. I gotta stop that search. It's holding me up. All right. Yes, indeedy. Let me go back to that page. When the students play this video, there's a button in the lower right-hand corner.
It's on that site because it's a little bit out of date, and YouTube changed.
So they can put it up full screen and see it much more clearly. They also have the capability to change the resolution of the video, which they control. You control what the maximum sharpness or resolution of the video is, but they control how sharp the playback is because it can have an impact on how much bandwidth they need to play it. And they can click this little settings gear icon down here, and this one is set by default to YouTube's usual maximum. Actually, that's not the maximum, but that's the maximum possible for this video, which is full high definition. But they can set it to some other playback resolution as well, which will, the lower it is, the less sharp it'll be. So usually they're going to want to go to the highest possible quality that they can support on their connection. If the video buffers a lot, if it stops and starts, then they'll probably have to select a lower quality. But yes, the students can make that as big as they like, up all the way up to full screen, or they can even go to YouTube and view the video on YouTube.
YouTube changes that interface from time to time, and you
shut myself up there. But of course, if they do that, they can still go full screen, and they can change the size of they have a little bit more control over the size of the playback, up to and including full screen. But they're also bombarded with all of that advertisement that you were seeing, if we go back to the standard screen size, that's not what I meant to do.
Wouldn't be
Go
able
back
to use it, that tutorial now. And
if they're on the standard YouTube page, they're going to see YouTube advertising over here, which is, of course, how YouTube pays for all this free bandwidth and free storage you get. But it's really not pedagogically desirable to have your students distracted by videos that, quite frankly, are more interesting than mine, especially if there's an attractive person in them or something like that. That beats the hell out of watching my instructional video. So they got to go over here and they're going to be down a rabbit hole before you know it. So that's one of the great advantages of embedding your YouTube videos into your Canvas page like this. This is not the only way to provide your students access to videos, online videos in Canvas. You could go into your module and you could just add an external URL. And you could put the share URL for the video into that box. Let's pull that one up for this video. That's the YouTube share link. So I copy that to my clipboard, go back to Canvas, paste that into the URL box. And what was that video? Geez. That was the introduction to screencasting video. So I'll type that in as the page name. Usually with videos, you do like to load them in a new tab. Makes them easier to control the size and so on. Add the item. Now, the student can play that video from right here if I publish it. Student can play that video from right here, but that's going to take them directly to YouTube. And all those things.
You do have to know how to.
So if you do the embed, that doesn't happen. They just see the video. So embedding a video in a page is a much better way of linking the video to your students than putting it in a web link or an external URL item in a module, at least in my not entirely untutored opinion. Can you use someone else's video? Absolutely. Any video that someone posts on YouTube or any other site can be linked to, as long as it's a public site that you didn't have to log into to get to. If it's publicly posted, you can link to that video, or if it's stored on YouTube, you can get an embed code and embed it into your Canvas page, just as I did with my own video there. You can do that with any public domain video, and any video that's shared on YouTube publicly is not exactly in the public domain, but it is available for public use and viewing without any further permission. That's part of what you give up when you put your video on YouTube, is the right to stop people from watching it if you put it on YouTube and you make it public. What ID do you want the intro to show after the welcome? I'm not sure exactly what you're asking there. Let me know if you want to. How best to reduce online exam cheating? Could I use a proctor like Zoom? Is there a way to lock the browser? Good questions, all. I'll start in reverse order. We don't have a lockdown browser. The Respondus provides one that we've never subscribed to. That's a fairly expensive option. I know the new dean is looking for money to find things like that, to options like that, but now's a bad time to be looking for money, and that's probably fairly far down on the priority list. I'm not speaking for him. I don't know. I'm just an old contractor here. I'm the pro from Dover, as they said in MASH. But we don't have that right now. Could I use a proctoring tool, an online proctoring tool? Well, those cost a lot of money too. We do have access to one for a few months right now called Proctorio, but we're not pushing it out to people because we don't know that we're going to be able to afford to continue using it. We don't want to get people dependent on it. But your question about Zoom is very apropos. It is possible to use Zoom, what we're doing right now, as an ad hoc online proctoring tool. In order to use it that way, everybody has to take the exam at the same time, and everybody has to be logged in or joined to the Zoom meeting, to a Zoom meeting. But Zoom has an option that will allow multiple people, I mean quite a few people, to share their screens at the same time. And then you as the host can pick between them to look at them. Only you as the host can do that. So you can have people join the Zoom meeting, establish that they've opened their mics, and you can tell if they mute themselves, so that you should be able to hear anything that's going on in the room while they're taking the test. And they're sharing their screen with you, so you can see what they're doing. You can ascertain that they're not going out on Google and looking up the answers and things like that, unless they have multiple monitors, in which case they're chuckling at you while they're doing that. But there are tells on that. You can also see a video thumbnail of them, and if they're not looking at their screens, then something for an extended time, something funny is going on. So you can do a pretty decent job of proctoring using Zoom. Katie Palacios, my esteemed colleague who's now over at Mesa, did a proof of concept video on this. And if you're interested in that particular concept, send me an email and I'll send you a link to it. I don't have it at my fingertips right now, so I don't want to put it in I don't want to take the time to put it in the chat tool, look for it, but I can find it and I'll send it to you. So that's a possibility. We could do live proctoring, but that's a lot of work. There's a lot of moving parts, and it requires students to be maybe more sophisticated than you are likely to be able to hope for. And that would be true of a commercial tool like Proctorio too. That puts quite a lot of stress on the individual student. They got to have a webcam, they got to have a microphone, and they have to load the client, either the Zoom client or the Proctorio client, in order to do this. It's quite a lot of cognitive load on your students. So what can you do to enhance online exam security that doesn't involve that kind of juggling exhibition? Well, you can start by setting a time limit on your test and keep it lean. So the students have to go from question to question to question pretty darn quickly. So they don't have time to go out on Google and look up every question. They might be able to get the first 4 or 5 that way, but then they wouldn't be able to finish the rest of the test. And that would take care of itself. The old standard was a minute per multiple choice question. Another thing you can do is have the questions presented one at a time. I think I showed you an example of that. So that the student can't have multiple questions and go back and forth quickly. That enhances security, but that also ticks the students off something fierce. I have to admit, I hate that too. I like to be able to scroll up and down quickly in a test because I'm always seeing something in a later question that reminds me of the right answer in an earlier one. Oh my God, I missed that earlier question. I've got to go back and fix that. That's hard to do or hard to impossible, depending on how you set things up, to do if you're presenting the questions one at a time. But it's a lot of people use that. A lot of instructors use that option. It does increase exam security because they never have more than one question on their screen at a time. So it's much more difficult for them to copy all of your questions by taking screenshots and sending the screenshots to their friends, which they could do. And you can't stop that. So one question at a time makes that very tedious. They're not likely to be that altruistic. You can randomize the order of presentation of the questions so that no two students get them in the same order. Or you can actually have Zoom or Canvas sort of create the test for you by having Canvas pull questions at random from question banks. You tell Canvas how many questions you want from each bank, and presumably each question bank has questions on different subjects. And you can have Canvas build a test randomly that's a different test for each student. And that makes it a lot harder for them to share information before or during or after taking the test. So that's a huge increase in security. Can you totally prevent them from cheating? Nope. I'm sure most of you are of my generation, or maybe the immediately previous generation. You've all been teaching long enough to know that there's no way to completely prevent cheating, even if you're sitting in the room staring at them with a scowl on your face. My favorite trick was always to stand behind them so they didn't know where I was looking. But even then, I've been worked over by professionals in that regard. And I gave up any illusions of being able to totally prevent cheating on exams under the best of circumstances. So, no, you can't prevent students from cheating. You can make it very difficult for them to cheat effectively, though. And that's the goal. So that's a very important topic, a very important discussion to have. I'm glad you asked that question, sir. Would you turn off access to all the tools in the menu for students, all but the modules? Pretty much. They do need I'm still sharing my screen, right? They do need the home button. They need the announcements button because that's your communication tool. You can send announcements to them, messages that you post on the classroom door, as it were. They obviously need access to the modules tool. They need access to the grades tool because that's how they see their grades and get their feedback. They don't necessarily need to see the people tool. That's your course roster. A lot of people hide that. It's not really a FERPA issue because the only people who can get in, who are enrolled in the course, can get into the Canvas site and see that people link. So it's not a mystery to them that these other, when they sit in a classroom together, they can see each other and they learn each other's names and so on. So having this people link available to them is not a FERPA violation, but you still may not want to do that. That's a personal preference. Conferences, the conferencing tool is that's built into Canvas as a poor version of Zoom. It's not Zoom, but it's a video chat tool that's much less capable than Zoom. So usually you would hide that. There is a Confer Zoom app that you can use to give them access to your Zoom sessions and your recordings. You don't have to use that, but you can. You can handle the Zoom, your Zoom access in different ways. If you want to see more about that, come to the Introduction on Zoom seminar. They probably don't need access to the rubrics link either. That's more for you. The rubrics are, of course, roadmaps for grading for different assignments and quizzes and so on. And they would see the rubrics when they access their quiz or their homework assignments. They don't need that tool necessarily in course menu. And all the others can be dispensed with too. So those are the things that they really have to have. And what else you give them access to is a matter of personal preference on your part.
So Dave, how do you hide those?
You hide items in the course menu by going to the settings tab. There's
Okay.
settings link in the course menu. Again, the students don't see that settings link. And there's a series of tabs at the top of the page, of the settings page, and you want the navigation tab.
Okay.
And if I don't want them to see conferences, for instance, I just click and drag that menu option down below the line. Anything below this line, the students can't see.
Okay. Yeah. Thank
And that's
you.
all there is. And then you go back, home, and that conferences button now has, oh, I didn't save it. Whoops, excuse me. Sometimes in Zoom you have to click a save button, sometimes you don't. You find out the hard way that with the navigation changes, you have to go down here and save. And I've done that about 1 million times, and I still forget to save it about one in 10. So, old dogs, new tricks, don't mix. So now the conferences is hidden, and you can tell what's hidden for the students either by looking for these slashed eyes, or you can go to your student view and see what shows up. There, that looks a lot more compact. And that means that to get to anything, the students have to go to the modules, which is where I want them, and access everything through their modules. And that is the ideal, that's an ideal aspect of modular course design. We don't like PeopleSoft either. Oh, I could tell stories, but I'm sworn to secrecy. And I'm sure they'd find me if I told them. God. Never mind. I want to get myself in trouble. Would you develop the complete course prior to the beginning of the semester? Very good question. Ideally, yes. You'd have everything in place before the beginning of the semester, and after the beginning of the semester, all you would have to do is manage what's going on and grade. It's a wonderful circumstance. It's the ideal. Now ask me if I've always done that. Obviously not. Yeah, you really want to do that, but sooner or later you'll end up in a situation where you're staying one step ahead of the students. You create a new module like the week before the students have to have it and things like that. That's not ideal, but life happens. I'm just trying to be honest with you. Do as I say, not as I do, right? Is there a way for me to convert pages to files without creating the file and deleting the page? That's an interesting question. You think about that. Could you take a Canvas page and convert it to, say, a Word document or a PDF, and then replace the page with the Word document in the module? Yeah.
No, that's not exactly it.
Oh, that's not exactly what you're asking? Okay, what?
No,
enlighten me.
I goofed up and I was making pages when I should have been making files, so that when you put the file in the page, you have to download the file. But when you have it in a file, it will open, automatically.
I see what you're saying. So you attach the file to the page, and the students have to click on the link in the page to get to the file, and you just want to have a link to the file directly in the module.
Right.
Without having to go through the Canvas page.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if what I would, I just don't know if you can convert or I really just have to recreate the
No, you'd
files.
have to upload the file separately and then just delete the page,
Okay. All righty.
which is what you suggested there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's the only way that I would know to do that. Your most some nice thank yous. Thank you very much for the kind words. When you said there are start and end dates for the shells, do we lose all that we created it, or is it just not available to the students any longer? It's just not available to the students any longer. When a course ends, you still have access to the course shell and will continue to do so indefinitely. At some point in the distant future, after we've been using Canvas for several years, we might get to the point where the company instructor comes to us and says, well, you've been using Canvas for a while now, and you got a potload of old courses on there that surely nobody needs their old course from 5 or 6 years ago anymore. How about taking some of those off there and reduce our load? Otherwise we're going to charge you more, or we're going to sanction you in some way. I could see that happening sometime in the future. I don't know that it ever will, but it might. So at some point in the relatively distant future, you might lose access to that course. In which case, before that happened, we would make sure that all of the courses that were removed from the system were backed up and that we had a backup of them. So if you needed it back, we could put it back on the system. And you could make your own backup and download it to your local hard drive and keep it. And then in the future, sometime you could ask for a development shell and you could upload that backup back into the development shell. So you should never, ever lose the content that you've created in a course shell on Canvas permanently. It just might become a little less convenient to access it quickly. But for now, for the foreseeable future, your old courses will remain on Canvas and you will still have access to them. And before anything like that changed, you would be notified massively. We would never pull one of your courses without good reason, without informing you far in advance, and it would happen sometime several years down the road in all probability. Now that does bring up an issue, though, that often gets asked in these sessions, which is, won't my dashboard get to be a nightmare after a while? Your dashboard could end up looking like mine. You really don't want that. How can you avoid that unpleasant fate? Well, you don't have to have the courses removed from Canvas. You just have to remove them from the dashboard. So where you only have your current courses that you're utilizing either for development purposes or for teaching visible on your dashboard. So how can you get rid of the ones you don't want? Well, you can go to your courses tool. And I'm working on a tutorial on this. It'll be a separate standalone tutorial on managing your Canvas dashboard. Other things keep getting in the way of me finishing that. If I go to my courses list, I can scroll all the way to the bottom and I can select all courses that I am currently or have ever been enrolled in on the system. And I get a list that looks like this. And in my case, that's even longer than my dashboard. And what you can control what appears on your dashboard using these stars. If I click on a star that's amber and it goes blank, that course is no longer going to appear on my dashboard. If I want to add a course back to my dashboard, I just click the star and make it amber again or orange, So only the ones that the little stars, the ones with the stars that are lit up appear on your dashboard. So you can very easily clean up your dashboard. And this column tells you if they're published or not. It's a lot safer to, you probably don't want to remove a course from your dashboard that's published. So this gives you a reality check. But that's how you manage your dashboard. It's really not very hard to do. So I could go in and I could clean that up. Actually, I use a lot of those courses from time to time, so I don't want to take them out right now. But you have complete control over what appears on your dashboard.
Dave, I asked.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be starting the certification course for Canvas.
Very good.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we get a development shell in that. And so
You do.
do I need then to request a development shell for the fall if I'm already going
Yes.
to? I do.
You do. That development shell you get that came with the certification course
Mhm.
is one you're going to use as you go through the certification course.
Right.
Some of the activities that you'll be asked to perform in the certification course
Mhm.
require that you have instructor privileges in the shell where you do them.
Mhm.
And you're enrolled in the certification course. You're enrolled in this course here as a student,
Okay.
not
Yeah.
as a teacher. So you
Yeah.
have to have that. Sometimes you have to go over into that development shell and do something like load a syllabus is one of the requirements.
Right.
And you can only do that if you're the instructor. So you have to do that in the development shell.
Okay.
And then you come back to the course shell and you say, I did that. You put in some reflections and you say, I've completed this assignment, please grade. So you're going to be using that development shell for the certification course. You need another development shell or shells for your fall courses.
Right. Because that
And
will.
the sooner the better.
Yeah. Who do we? How do we request that?
You go to the help button on Canvas
Okay.
and go to the Canvas faculty support hotline and just dial in.
Okay.
And you may have a little bit of a wait, but if you do it at an off-peak time of day, it probably won't be long. And you just ask them, say, I'm so-and-so, this is my user ID for Canvas at the San Diego Community College District. And that number, by the way, is our specific number. So they'll know that you're one of our faculty. You
Okay.
wouldn't have the number. And you say, I need a development shell for English 205 and Literature 101.
Okay.
And they'll make that for you and put you in as the instructor, as the teacher.
Okay.
And it will appear on your dashboard. And they usually do that within minutes. It doesn't take them long to do that.
Okay. My other question is, I have a book from Azar, the ESL, the grammar book. She's got a test bank, but it's in paper form. It's in a book. So how would I upload pages from that?
If it's actually in a paper, on paper, that's going to be pretty tough.
Pages? Okay.
You could, if you had a scanner,
I have one on my phone.
yeah, you could use your phone, but your phone doesn't have optical character recognition software on it, probably. You could, I can envision probably you could take a picture with your phone
Right.
and upload the picture to your computer.
Right. Okay.
You could then feed that to an optical character recognition application.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah, this is already starting to sound ugly, isn't it?
Right.
And that
yeah.
would convert it to editable text. And you can probably find an application like that for free. I could help. I think there's still things available out there that you can get for free. And then you would have to edit that to clean up the mistakes that the optical character recognition made to get it in the form of, say, a Word document.
Yeah.
Then you have a count 'em 9-step process that you can go through to import that Word document into Canvas without having to retype it.
Okay. I'm already retyping it. I mean,
You've already
much easier, much faster. I don't use all the questions anyways. I usually use maybe
right.
a half of them anyway, but I just
Is
wanna-
there any chance the questions are typed? Is there any chance that they have that in the form of a Word document already digital?
I don't know that, but I know she's got a test bank that I used once, but that took longer than me just typing it in because there were just so many. It was so extensive. It was
Right. I hear you. Well, and if you have test banks on CD or thumb drive or whatever, or that you downloaded off the web from your publisher's site, those can be imported into Canvas fairly easily in most cases.
Oh, all right. Okay.
And I'd be happy to work with you on that. The exact process would vary depending upon the source of the test bank and the form that the file was in.
Okay.
You might have to pull it out of something like TestGen or EasyTest, one of those publishers' test generators, or you might already have the test banks in zip files that you could import. And it so happens that the test banks that import into Blackboard will also usually import into Canvas because they use the same import file format.
Okay.
So chances are pretty good we could get those into Canvas without a lot of hassles. Getting a Word test, or a test typed in Word into Canvas, is by no means impossible. And it probably would take less time than retyping everything, depending on your typing skills. For me, it's always faster because my typing skills are execrable. But that's not that difficult to do. And I do have a tutorial online showing you how to do it. It's a little intimidating at first, but the process actually works really well. But starting from paper, you're pretty much just going to have to type the questions in with that add new question button.
Yeah.
Type them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems more straightforward to me. I have enough.
It's certainly straightforward compared to the other options.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
Great
you.
question. Why again am I recommending embedding YouTube videos over just linking it? Because if you just link the YouTube video into a module or into a page for that matter, if you just put the link to the video, when the student clicks on that link, they're going to go to YouTube to play the video. And all that wonderful advertising and interesting stuff that's more interesting than I am. I won't say it's more interesting than you are, but it's more interesting than I am, will appear. And the students are going to be distracted. If you embed the YouTube video into the Canvas page, the students don't see the vast majority of that distraction. As a matter of fact, with a little extra effort, you can just about totally eliminate all of the distractions that normally accompany the playing of a YouTube video in whatever format. Because you can even stop YouTube from popping up those suggested videos in the middle or at the end of your video as your video is playing. If you embed a video in YouTube, or in Canvas, in the usual way, every time the student pauses the video, YouTube flashes up some suggestions of things you might really rather watch than the instructional video that your instructor wants you to see. And the student has to close that window to keep playing the video. Or at the end of your video, YouTube will flash up other recommended videos, and you can forget about your student going right on and taking their quiz at that point. They're going to be watching Chrissy T. Well, no, that's my generation. They're going to be watching the newest heartthrob of their preference in some music video or something rather than taking their quiz. So you can even prevent that from happening with just a little extra effort when you do the embed. And I didn't cover that today. That's something we cover. We do an entire a session again on adding video to your Canvas course. And that's one of the things we show there, though I do have a tutorial showing you how to do that. It's available on the on-demand website. Just type Justin Videos, YouTube. This shows you, it's about I don't know how long it is, not very long. 3.5 minute video showing you how to prevent this from happening. It's a little bit harder to prevent that from happening on this site than it is in Canvas, so I haven't done that here, but you can prevent that sort of thing from happening if you're interested. If you don't give another question, I'm still working my way down toward the bottom of the chat tool here. If you don't give grades or credits, can you enter homework assignments only? Absolutely. Do you have to fill out all the other squares to get out of the module? Well, you can just put the assignments in the module and nothing else if that's what you want to do. And when you're creating an assignment, you don't have to do all that stuff about, let's go to an assignment creation screen here in a course and go to the module and just create an assignment. New assignment. Assignment name, sample. He said, oops, and then click on that and click edit. When you're creating the assignment, you could just put the instructions here and you could then ignore most of the rest of this. You could leave the points at 0. You could even say, don't count this toward the final grade. If it's not something that if you don't assign grades, you don't even have to worry about that. You do have to tell it what kind of submission you want to, how you want the assignment submitted. It might be on paper in a classroom course, if we ever get back to that. It looks like we won't be back in the classroom much in the fall even, but you could set on paper or no submission and evaluate the students in some other way. And that's all you'd have to do, and then just save it. And that would create a column in the grade book and would provide the students access to the instructions that you typed here. So you could certainly do that. You can do whatever works for you and your needs. I hope I answered that question.
Yes,
Let me know if I didn't.
that was good. Thanks.
You bet. If we're taking the certification course, do we get a development shell? Yes, we just talked about that. Okay, I answered that one already. Very good. What if you want to move things around, like the order of things in your module? Good question. I didn't show you that. I should have. You can move modules around. See these little tools here, a little double line of dots? If you mouse over them and click, you can drag the modules around. You can drag items within modules around. And you can even drag stuff from one module to another. So that's real easy. Reordering content in the modules or reordering modules. Putting one module in a different place relative to the other modules is very easy to do. You just click and drag around. With modules, you can also do things like go to the context menu for the module as a whole, this little 3 dots here, and select Move Module. You can put the module at the top or before or after another module or at the bottom very quickly without having to drag it around, which can get a little tedious if you're dragging it long distances. Kind of have to keep insisting, that it go down and go back up. and so on. But you can change the order of modules, you can change the order of items within a module, and you can even move content between modules or links between modules that way. I'm in SpeedGrader, but the top icons for tools disappeared. What did I do this time? You didn't do a thing. Whoever submitted the assignment did the thing. Let me go to the gradebook here and look at what I think is the root of this question. If I go to something like this assignment here,
Uh-huh.
and I go to the SpeedGrader, these are the little tools you're talking about, I take it.
Right.
Right. You see these tools only if the student has uploaded a file to the assignment, and only if the file is one of a relatively limited number of file types. These markup tools only work if this is like a Word document, an OpenOffice document, a PDF, Excel spreadsheets you can mark up this way. And there's a few others. Let me see if I can find that list. Mark up compatible. What I'm doing is typing my question into Google on another screen. Markup compatible file types in Canvas. There's nothing you can't find out about Canvas by using Google. When I have a question, that's where I go. Let me see. Let me share with you what I'm seeing here. What file types are supported in Canvas assignments? From Florida State University. That should be good. It's loading, it's loading. I don't know if this is Florida State's problem or mine. Let's see if it'll come up. Load, 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 load. There we go. Only support at present document files, PowerPoint files, and PDF files. Actually, I don't think that's strictly true. I think there are others, like OpenOffice files. OpenOffice is an alternative to Microsoft Office. It's a full-fledged Office suite, has a word processor, a spreadsheet, a database application, and a presentation application like PowerPoint, only it's completely free. Anybody can download it and install it for free. It's a marvelous tool, and it's easy to use. It's not that difficult. It's not any more difficult to use than, say, Word, probably less. And it will create files that I believe you can mark up in Canvas as well. But the safe bets are Microsoft Office files, Word docs, Word documents, PowerPoints, and PDF files from any source. The PDF files that were created from some other kind of file format, not PDF files that were created by scanning a piece of paper.
Now they can upload JPEGs.
Yep.
You can't.
But you can't.
Right.
I don't think you can mark them up.
Okay, but they can do that because
yes. Yes.
I'm getting to a section in the course where I teach them to use symbolic logic, and I do not want them to have to go and learn the symbols because that's just complicating life even further.
You
So I'd
bet.
like to do it on paper and then take a picture and a screenshot's what
Right.
you call it, right? Take a screenshot
Correct.
and then load it.
Yep.
So should I tell
Well,
them?
in
I
that
have-
case, it is actually just a picture of the page, which they then upload to satisfy the assignment. And then you get that picture
Yeah.
and you pretty much have to download it, I think, to bring it up on your computer.
Oh, well, I don't want to do that.
Let's see. Let me check something. Let me try that. You know, I'm not confident in my answer on that one. So
Oh.
the best thing to do in that situation is to check. Let me go and submit one of these assignments here. Doesn't matter which one. I'll just go in as my test student. Your test student is extremely valuable to you because you can do things and check things out and see how your course actually works. You can go to your home button, the home link in your course menu, and go to Student View. And let me find an assignment here that I can access. Doesn't really matter which one. I just go to this one. I'll ignore the instructions. I can submit the assignment as a student, and I'm going to do a file upload. I hope I haven't set. You can, when you create the assignment, you can restrict the file types that you will accept, and Canvas won't accept anything else. I hope I didn't do that here, because I'm just going to try to upload just a plain old JPEG. There's one. Open. Well, I hadn't complained yet. Now I'm going to submit the assignment. And it took it. All right, so that worked. So your students can certainly do that. Actually, if the student, yes. Mm-hmm.
It took it and it's in Gradebook under that assignment.
Correct. So let's go look and see let's see what the speed grader looks like. I'll go to Gradebook and I'll find that assignment. I think that was it. Let me see. Go to the speed grader. No, that wasn't it. Sorry. Which one did I should have paid more attention to which one I submitted there. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to get lucky here. How about this
I think
one?
it
Is
was,
that it? Pardon?
oh yeah, it was in Test Student, right?
Yeah, it was the test student who submitted it. So let's try that one. Ah, that's it. So
Okay.
you do see it, and you can zoom in. Oh my God, look.
Wow.
Not only can I zoom it, but I have the annotation tools.
Great. But now you submitted that as a JPEG?
I did.
So if I require JPEGs just to make sure they come through on the tool, is that a reasonable thing to do? To require them to up it as a JPEG?
I think so. Just a second. Let me check something. Again, I'm not going to shoot from the hip here. Let me look at something here. I didn't realize that would work. I just learned something. Thank you for asking
that's
that
great.
question.
I love that.
Now, I'm going to go look at my pictures and see what file format my phone creates. I think it's JPEG. It is. So, yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Well, I tell you what, you might accept JPEGs, GIFs, or
GIFs?
GIFs, or PNGs, Program Network Graphics.
And I'll check and
Those are the three common inline file types that should work. But actually, most phones are going to produce JPEG images by default. When you take a photo with most phones, mine's an iPhone, but I think Android phones as well will produce JPEG images.
So what you would do when you were creating your assignment, oh, I'm so thrilled to see that. I don't know why I hadn't checked that before. Let's go to our assignments and edit one of them. That's the one we were working with. Doesn't matter which one I'm editing here. I just want to see the assignment properties screen here.
Okay.
When
so-
you select online and
Right.
file upload, you
Yeah.
have an option to restrict upload file types. And you have to type in the acceptable extensions, and that would be period JPG for a JPEG. And then it won't let them upload anything else. And if anybody has a problem, I think it'd be unlikely that they would, but if somebody did have a problem, it would be possible to take the file. The student could email the file to you, and you could send it to me, and I could convert it to a JPEG. That's how unlikely I think that is to be a problem, because that's not something that would be scalable to large numbers of submissions. I think the vast majority of the time, the student's phone is going to produce a JPEG image that takes a picture.
And then do I take text entry off when I do this?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
You do not want text entry available in that, because
Right.
how are they going to enter a picture by text? That's an inappropriate option in that case.
Well, if it's a rich text, they can go to that part where you put in pictures, right?
That's true. That is true. They could submit an embedded picture, but then you wouldn't be able to mark it up.
Right. I love the idea of it going into the grader and being able to use SpeedGrader on it. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, you'd be able to use the SpeedGrader, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to use the markup tools.
Right, and the markup tools is, yeah.
And the markup tools in that case are really important, I can see, because you're dealing with a visual medium.
Right,
You need to be able to highlight the part of the medium you're talking about. So,
right.
cool. Well, I just learned something. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. I'm not totally dreading doing the certification course now. I think that comes under the heading of faint praise. All right. But I'm thrilled. I hope not. Is this most of what we need to know to be able to do the Canvas CERT program? A really good chunk of it, yes. I have just covered. That's part of what this course, this Zoom session is designed to prepare you for. You've got at least been introduced to most of the concepts that are brought up in the certification course.
And
You can come back to this recording at any time and look up answers or look up cheats for the various assignments. Actually, no, it's not. I shouldn't say that. We don't care how you acquire the knowledge in that course. We just care that you come out the other end with the knowledge that you need to create an effective Canvas course for your students. That's the whole point. It's not supposed to be some kind of game.
Great.
And I'm at the bottom of the tool. Cool. The bottom of the chat log.
Bob, I have a question for you because I teach the singing class, solo singing, and there's really no homework, and there's no testing, and there's no quizzes, there's no anything like that. It's just really an on live thing. And if they ask me a question, and if they ask me a question, I give them things to think about, and I give them things to, like, each they have to choose a song, and I have a project every semester, but that's about it. So how much of this would I actually be utilizing?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because it seems
You
like
could certainly provide sample performances to them in Canvas pages. You could find performances, the gazillion different performance videos on YouTube, and many others on other websites. You could
curate those performances and provide them with samples of things that illustrate concepts that you're covering in your current part of the course you're in right now.
Now,
And
we were told we
yes.
can't, we were told, well, I know, maybe it's two different things, but we were told that we can't record, like in our Zoom, I can't record my Zoom classes because all we are is singing. And if they're singing anything that's written by anybody else, which of course they are, it can't be recorded. So in this situation, like if let's say I got a guy that I want him to hear a singer, let's say Tony Bennett, he sounds like, and these people are all older people. And let's say they want to hear something by Tony Bennett, and I wanted to hear this certain song to see how he was able to get up to that note or whatever. So I can't really put a recording on my Canvas homework thing, can I, legally? Or do I just refer him, put the link on there and refer him to it?
Just a sec. I have to go through there we go.
I left my heart in San Francisco.
That's the
Took
one.
me 5 seconds to find that, well, 10 seconds to find that on YouTube. That's publicly available on YouTube. You can embed that in a Canvas page in your course perfectly legally.
Okay.
And I'm not a copyright lawyer, so I don't like to give copyright advice, but I am comfortable here. You can embed that into a page on your Canvas course, and by gum, they can listen to it and see it. And YouTube has to worry about the copyright issues. You're just using something publicly available on YouTube. No problem. Now, the other question about the student singing a cover of a copyrighted song in your Canvas course that only they can access. That's a murky area as far as copyright law is concerned. You could claim fair use for a variety of reasons, which is an exception to copyright law, or exception to copyright protection, or needing to acquire permission.
Okay.
It would be a technical violation of copyright, but the chances of you ever being called on it. I mean, if you let's say you went to a Tony Bennett concert and you recorded him with your phone singing, and you brought that back and you put that video up in your course, yeah, you're clearly violating copyright in that case, and they could come after you. But a student singing, I left my heart in San Francisco.
Oh, you know what? I remember.
That's an exceptionally rigorous interpretation of copyright.
I remember why that was the problem. It wasn't the student singing. It was that they have to, because it's Zoom and I can't play for them because there's a lag. So they go onto YouTube, they pull up a karaoke of, say, this song, and then that karaoke is being copyrighted if we record it. If I record it on Zoom. So I can't record any of my Zoom stuff.
Right. There you're making a copy, but you can just send them directly to YouTube.
Yeah, okay, that's a better, and then I wouldn't be recording the student anyway. That's not part of the home, that's not part of the homework. So,
gotcha.
Okay, so that's good. That makes sense. Okay. Super. You are amazing, Robert. You are such a good teacher. I need to be taught like a third grader. I get really anxious and I get panic attacks when I'm learning stuff that's so confusing like this, and you have totally calmed me down. It's such a gift. Thank you.
I think you probably realize how much that means to me. That is, to have another teacher say that sort of thing about you is very affecting. Thank you.
I really, you have saved, you've saved my sanity, literally. You should have seen me during the weekend before our first Zoom meeting. I was on the phone with Claudia and the dean like 4 or 5 times. It was because I go blind. I just can't think. My brain just shuts down. And this
Well,
is
my God, you're
amazing.
being asked to confront an entirely new paradigm in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and something that I'm totally,
That was
yeah,
insane.
right. And you know, computers to me are still glorified typewriters. I mean, I don't do any of this other fancy stuff that you guys do. I don't even know what the words mean. So, I mean,
Well,
this
they're
is
fun
just,
though.
yeah, but you really you really made this understandable to where I'm not nervous about it anymore. So thank you so much.
You are so sweet. Thank you
I was
very
thinking
much.
20 hours. No, let's look at 50. So, but thank you. That's
Well,
really,
you don't want to go. You don't want to go for either record.
No,
The
true.
shortest or the longest. They both
Yeah.
have a serious drawback.
That's true.
Bless your heart. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Believe me.
Anybody have another question?
I do.
Great.
So, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but
Probably not, but we'll try.
for the fall, do you know what kind of formats they're going to allow online? Okay, so here's a format I'm using this semester. Because they were already Monday, Wednesday students, I set up required Zoom meetings during our class period because it was already free. And then I do other stuff on Canvas, okay?
Yeah.
So we meet twice a week, and then they do their homework and get their announcements and emails and all that. Now, if you're going to teach online, I mean, I know there's 100% online, and that means Canvas, right?
No, not necessarily only Canvas. You may well be using Zoom as well. I hope you will be.
Well, I will be, but the deal is I want to have it so that if the course is Tuesday, Thursday at 11:10, I can get them together then.
That is the problem. If the course is fully online, which they will be for summer anyway, with minor exceptions in some cases, you really can't require students to be online at a particular time.
That's what I figured. So in the schedule of
But you can strongly encourage it. And you can hold the sessions and record them so that students who absolutely insist that they can't be online at that time, which is their right, can view it later. But you can still require them to view it. And you can set up assessments in such a way that they can't pass the assessment unless they viewed the Zoom session. And there's nothing to stop you from doing that.
Right, except it just totally ruins my curriculum because they do a lot of class participation. It's massive. I mean, they're talking almost as much
So
as
you might have to find other ways to give them other alternatives for class participation, where they record something themselves or they participate in a discussion forum and post things in there, perhaps posting files or videos of themselves or whatever. But you can, and quite frankly, you can make that so tedious that the easiest thing for them to do is to attend your live sessions. Here's all these hoops you got to jump through if you can't make the live session. Or you can just show up and it'll be a lot easier.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a powerful motivator.
Yeah. So,
But you can't require them, since they didn't sign up for an on-ground class at a certain time. You can't require them to be online at that time.
And the powers
you can just make the penalty for not being there fairly severe.
Yeah. The powers that be would not allow the schedule to say online Zoom meetings are required.
That's I don't really have a pay grade anymore. So that's so far above me, I can't even see it. That's a question for your dean or your department head.
All right.
My guess is that no, you could not do that. But that's just a guess, and I'm not going to discourage you from inquiring about it.
Yeah. Well, that puts a hole in me teaching anymore because I want to see my students.
I really do too. I enjoy that. This is, I'll be honest with you, this is so much more fun than teaching fully online, only asynchronously and only through Canvas.
I just cannot.
I much prefer this.
Yeah. So, wow. So I don't have to teach. I just hate to quit. But I mean, it's like quitting if I don't see the students, you know. And
the chances are you would see a critical mass of them, but you wouldn't get every one of them.
Yeah, and that's just a big part of my pedagogy is having them all together, you know.
Yeah, and that's one of the pedagogical adjustments that has to be made when you go fully online.
Right. Okay. Well, so am I going to do the training for the fall?
I hope you will, because you're very good at this.
Well,
And,
I learned, I am teachable, I found out this. I am still teachable.
Well, I hope you'll find a way to make it work for you, and I'll be happy to help in any way I can.
All right.
But there are some, you know, you're just not in the situation now where you feel like you can, right now you feel like you can require them to be in a certain place.
Right.
Or be online at a certain time because they signed up for that.
That's right.
And if anything, it's easier than having to drive to campus. But when you get people who are in a fully online course, that's going to be a hard sell.
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't see that there's any way you could enforce that. So, but again, check with your dean, your department head and see what they say, because I am by no means anybody's arbiter on any of this anymore. Not that I ever was. Because just because you go online doesn't mean that academic freedom is suspended. It's still your course and you get to teach it within certain limitations the way you see fit. I mean, there are always some constraints.
And
I couldn't walk into my class and teach in a Speedo because the sound of the retching in the back of the room would totally eliminate the educational experience for everybody. There are always limitations on academic freedom, but they're very carefully titrated and so on. And there's a limit to what they can tell you about how you have to teach your own course. You have and deserve academic freedom, and the union would back you to the hilt on that.
Yeah.
So, and should.
Well, a lot to think about. Thanks.
Can you tell me one more time how to watch this? I'm going to watch this one more time.
Watch this one again online? Yeah. Absolutely. Let me share my screen again. It's nice to see you all for a minute there. You go to...
Bye, Tony.
Hello there. The site is sdccdolvid.org. And I put that in the chat tool some time ago, but let me put that in there again.
And I got interrupted at my door while you were talking about how to go to the chat tool.
Yeah. Believe me, I understand. It was like me with the whining dog over here. No, I'm happy to do it again because repetition is the soul of learning. And things need to be, particularly something this vital, needs to be said multiple times. You go to that website, and there's a menu at the top of the screen that has some different classes, types of tutorials in it and so on. And there's a button marked Workshop Archives.
That's what I missed. Okay.
And if you click on that, the Workshop Archives will come up. And there are a gajillion of them.
6 pages with about, what is it, a dozen a page on it. So about 6 dozen of them so far.
And they're dated, aren't
And-
they?
Pardon?
They're dated. Yeah, they have
Yes,
dates on them.
I've tried to date some of the more recent ones. And the most recently posted ones show first. These are shown in inverse chronological order. So the last one I posted was the one from May 4th.
Okay.
Actually, the last one I posted was May 4th because it finished before this one did. When I was uploading it to YouTube, this upload finished first. So these two went up about the same time. So the last one that I published was May 5th. And this one will go up. I didn't have anything yesterday on the 6th. So today's will be right here tomorrow.
Okay.
And by then, by next week, I'll start having some more up there. I just signed up to do another month's worth of sessions, 2 or 3 a week.
Great.
And Mary will be posting that schedule. If she hasn't already done it, she'll post it probably tomorrow morning. I don't think I start up again until next Tuesday. I think I gave myself a 4-day weekend.
Well, good for you. You know, she mentioned something about in our Dean Carroll just emailed me, and we didn't think that the voice class was going to be continued on in this summer, but I just got an email that she had some extra hours, and so since I'm only one class,
Yeah.
she's going to let us do that. So that changes my
Right.
when I can finish. So does that mean that I have the summer to fit? I don't think I'll need it now. Thank you very much. But if I don't get it done by June 30th, does that mean that I can continue on, or do I have to wait until? the fall?
You mean in the certification course?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
The new regime over at Online Learning Pathways is holding pretty tight, pretty strong on that. If you get started now, you want to finish before the end of June.
Okay. I think I
Because
will.
otherwise
now.
you'll have to start over again from scratch.
Ah, okay. That's
So-
my question.
Yeah, you don't want to have to do that. So you really
Okay.
do want to get it done by the end of June if you start now. If you can
Yeah.
afford to wait for the new cohort that starts for July 1st, then you can do it then. And then you'll have a full calendar year. Well, it'll depend on your dean as to when you
Yeah,
have to
that's
finish.
right. And we're losing ours. So.
Oh boy, yeah. We just got Online Learning Pathways just got a new one, and he's a good guy. He's very sharp and very experienced in this.
Oh, that's nice. Doesn't that make you
Oh,
feel good
that's-
when they're good at what you're interested in?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Carol is wonderful. She's very supportive of the music department, and she's just been a blessing.
Yeah, but they do move on. They move up.
I
They're good
know.
ones. And the better they are, the faster they move up.
And ours in particular, the emeritus dean, they change every year.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you
But
very much.
I would say if you're going to start it now, you want to finish it by the end of June.
Oh yeah, my goal is to finish it. And at first, honestly, I really didn't know how I was going to. I didn't even know what a shell was. And they're talking about when you make your. The very first orientation question is when you make your shell, and I'm like, what is a shell? And it's interesting to me
And that's why we're periodically running these orientations to the Online Faculty Certification Program.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one right here. As a matter of fact, the most recent one from day before yesterday is a full-blown orientation to that course. I don't know if you were in that one or not, but we've been running 100 people or more in those sessions. And I go through the course and talk about how it works, and some of which we talked about today. And then I answer questions about specific assignments and things like that, especially that video creation assignment 2.7 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. No,
that's very often a holdup for people. And I've gone through the whole process of satisfying that assignment several times in seminars.
Well, no, this is my first time. This is the first thing I've done with you so far.
Oh, okay. Well, this might be worth watching the first. Well, I think that was 3.5 hours, but a lot of that was questions.
The
Mhm.
first hour of it, roughly, was a presentation on how the course works and how to take it. And you might want to watch that.
Okay, that's a good idea.
Or what you might want to do is just start. And if you get stuck, then you can watch that. Though you can also just send me, if you have a question, just send me an email.
Okay.
And I've answered 2 emails today already about people who were stuck on a particular question or a particular assignment in the course. And I sent them a little video that answered their questions about how to do it. So that I'm always happy to do that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I will do that. I've got your email, and thank you again. You have saved my sanity.
I'm so glad
Seriously.
to have done so. However little I deserve that.
No, it's wonderful. Thank you. I'm gonna sign off and go eat my dinner.
That sounds like an idea. You
Okay.
take care and
All right,
good
thanks
luck,
again.
and let me
Thank
know
you.
when I can help. Okay.
Absolutely. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Dave. I'm leaving too.
Oh, thanks, Kathy. Thanks for coming.